you getting yourself ready for our show?
Alrighty, guys, Jigs and Bigs. It's another Tuesday morning. Welcome to this northeastern fiesta of a podcast we have for you. You want to talk about fishing? Let's talk about it. We have some good stuff for you this week, guys. We got Nelson. He's sitting in with us to talk about his adventures on the ice all over Massachusetts. Word is on the street, it was a stone cold party, and I want to know the details because Sean and I had different kind of weekends. Sean and Nelson discussed the MAKB Western trail stops. They got all that news to drop for you. I got out on some open water, and I got first couple of thumps of 2022, which I'm very excited about. We've got a great Just the Tip this week. Shifting gears again, we're not talking about baits or anything like that. We're talking about Instagram giveaways. Why do people do them? How do they work for you? And what's the right way to go about setting up and making it happen? Well, we're going to kind of demystify all of it so you guys can kind of learn a little bit about it and figure it all out and find out if it's a good thing for you or not. We got a brand new FTG. This one does involve the ice. Buckle up. And it also includes social media. And finally, we've got Cody Jennings from Jig Masters. He is back, and we have a great conversation. This goes in a bunch of different directions. We talk about everything from college to owning a business to it's all over the place. Cody's a great guy. You're going to love this, guys. We have all kinds of great stuff for you coming up. Even more action for you. You're not going to want to miss this. Go ahead, get yourself something wonderful to enjoy while you take in all of this amazing northeastern fishing content. Jigs and Bigs. We'll see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far. We'll be right back after this. Jiggles and Bigglesworth, both of them. We're here. We're ready to go. Ready to party, gentlemen. How are we? We kind of have a party going on right now too. Instead of just Sean and myself whispering sweet nothings to one another over the interwebs, we've got Nelson here joining in. We have a third, as Howie would say. It seems as if we've been joined by a third.
I think Howie would say, "We have a menage a trois."
How are you two gents doing today?
Good, man.
Nelson, good. He's grinning ear to ear. I think he's doing all right.
Yeah. Hey, Bobby, before we get started,
man. Good.
Oh, shit. Before we get started, we should note Nelson's on a little bit of a delay.
Yes.
He is transmitting right now, being interviewed from a third world country covered in ice. We think it's Hoth. We don't know. And I got to congratulate you on your intro. I have not congratulated you on your intro in a couple weeks.
Really?
I was going to congratulate you last week about getting the year right.
Oh.
And then you went ahead and just dropped the whale ejaculate.
I did.
Comment.
I dropped the whale ejaculate card, and then everybody couldn't hardly contain themselves.
So congratulations this week for getting the year right and not mentioning whale cum. Great job.
Hey, working for you, buddy. Working for you.
Round of applause for Bobby Rosebeef.
What button do I push? Oh, it's been a day, gentlemen. It's been a day. Before we get started, I would like to send just some good wishes to the Rhodes family. I had. What was it? I guess it was not this past Friday, but the week prior. I got some real difficult news from a trivia regular that one of my longtime players, this amazing woman, Nancy Rhodes, had passed, which ended her battle with some heart issues that she was having, and that she had passed. It was a major loss, but. I had the services were today, and I went to go and pay my respects, and then afterwards, I actually DJ'd at the reception following for the family, and I got to tell you, I've done a bunch of events for that family. They're amazing folks, and Nancy was a hot shit. She was something else, man. I'll tell you what. And I discovered today that Nancy's favorite beverage is Crown Royal, which is one is on the short list of my favorites as well. So I had to lift a Crown Royal for her and pay my respects. So Nancy, we'll miss you. Let's shift gears though here, guys, because we've got lots of stuff to kind of go over here. I mean, Western Massachusetts is effectively frozen. Sean, you mentioned Hoth, and I think that's probably the best way to kind of word it. Really, it is a frozen wasteland out there, and I think this is probably. If I'm guessing here that this is probably the biggest single weekend of ice fishing action that we've seen locally so far. Definitely within like the 413. Well, maybe no, that's not true because the Berkshires and stuff might have been okay. Definitely in the Pioneer Valley proper. You've got people getting out on the ice. I was in East Hampton and I saw some people on Nashwanik. I saw some people out fishing all over the place, and I even had a requested trivia from a non-angler, but somebody very talented in the kitchen who would like me to bring back an old podcast segment, which is a tribute to the popular show on YouTube, Hot Ones, where we eat progressively hotter hot wings while ice fishing. And I think we can make this happen.
I'm out. I'll watch. I'll film it.
No, you're going to be my production guy. I'll do the suffering, But Kyle had mentioned this to me. Kyle's a good dude, and he's considering getting into this world of content creation and stuff. From more, I don't know. I'm guessing more of a combination of food and psychedelics. Could be pretty interesting. I'm not kidding. I mean, this is so he's gonna have some unique kind of stuff, but he's like, in my mind, he's like, I just imagine us like buckled over from eating wings with Da Bomb and like licking the ice on top of the lake. I'm like, that's a great visual, man. That's content. We need to make it happen.
Let me know what I need to film.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go ahead and steer that ship, Captain.
Yeah.
Sounds entertaining as fuck because I love laughing when people, do things to themselves. Not people getting hurt accidentally.
Stupid prizes.
Somebody asks for it. You got to laugh because they asked for it.
That's exactly it. You don't like to set somebody up for that kind of shit. But
no.
Yeah, maybe we can make something like that happen. This is, the big news right now is obviously the hoedown. I mean, was it a hoedown or a hootenanny out on the frozen tundra of Western Mass today?
Nelson, that's you. I didn't have a hootenanny. I had a. I don't know. What did I have? I had a christening. We had a christening. What did you have?
Yeah, we had I guess you can call it a hootenanny. Yeah. A frozen hootenanny.
So who got out there with you?
It was quite expensive. Well, we had a few people. I had my regular crew really, except for my dad. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it today. He had a surgery weekend. And we had a few of the MAKB West tournament fishermen out there. There was 4 of them that came out and enjoyed the day with us. It was a tough start. It was -8 when
Jesus.
We first got there this morning at 7 o'clock. Luckily, once the sun came up, the temperatures also came up with the sun, and it actually, by the time the afternoon came around, it was pretty comfortable out there, so it wasn't too bad. But that first thing in the morning, man, that was tough. That was tough.
That sounds it. That sounds it. What now? More importantly, the biggest question is here: what was the menu like? Because I was privy to the planning of this trip via a Facebook Messenger chain, and it sounded like it was pretty awesome. So, what did the menu look like? Says the fattest guy on the show.
Well, the menu was pretty good. The menu was it didn't end up being what was on the chat there, but it was pretty good. I learned something today as far as the menu goes.
What's up?
As a part of this menu, there was something called a Portuguese muffin,
Really?
which many people may not know, but I am Portuguese. I'm a first-born American Portuguese.
Yep.
And I have never heard of a Portuguese muffin. I learned what it is now. It's a larger, denser English muffin.
Really?
And it has a little bit of sweetness to it.
Huh.
It's very, very good. With sausage, eggs, and sautéed onions, it is delicious, which Mr. Nick Ringard cooked up for us. So that was an experience right there this morning. It was still pretty early. It was probably, man, it might have been 2 degrees by the time I got that sandwich. It was great. It felt great eating a nice warm sandwich like that, and learning something new about the Portuguese food. So, and then we had some chili. We had some hot dogs. There was some venison, and I don't think the grill ever was shut off for at least 6 hours. It was always on. Something's always on there. People are just taking their little bites here and there and staying busy in between flags.
Yep.
So
nice.
It was with the flags.
We had quite a few flags, but there was a lot of drops. I think there was a lot of perch around, a smaller perch, and so we were getting a lot of flags, but not a lot of hookups. I think in my crew, we probably had close to 30 tip-ups out, and if we pulled 10 fish out of the water, I'd say that was pretty good, about 10 fish. So it was pretty slow as far as catching, but the flags kept us busy. There wasn't much wind, so that kept it comfortable. So
that's nice.
Yeah, it was a good day overall. We ended up leaving a little earlier than expected, just because it wasn't as busy as far as the fishing goes.
Yep.
But the day was great. It was comfortable out there after the sun came up, and we had a great time as usual.
That's awesome.
Full bellies, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's from the way it sounds. I spoke with Wild Bill from Hookset Hoodlums yesterday, and I think Bill and I jinxed the Patriots. That's another topic. I think we might have fucked up that football game.
That's quite a claim. I mean, I think the Patriots had a lot going on before you and Wild Bill started.
Well, the thing is Wild Bill and I were so I got a phone call. Let me set the scene, okay? Holyoke, 2022. All right. My phone rings, and it's Wild Bill. And he's asking me about an ice fishing trip that's up in the air right now, Central Mass, with a bunch of the usual suspects, we'll say. And I said I'm down. I'm psyched. I got my crampons. I'm ready to go. Let's hit this ice. And he says to me, he goes, "Oh, what are you doing tonight?" And I said, "Oh, we're going over to some friend's house. We got some, appetizers and stuff. We're gonna watch this Pats game." And he said, "Oh, that's great." He's like, "That's what I'm doing here. I got a little tequila. It's gonna be a great time." And then it dawns on me. I was like, "Wait a minute, they're playing Buffalo." I was like, "Isn't Andrew like a huge Buffalo guy?" And he is. Andrew's like a diehard Bills fan. And apparently, he does this pilgrimage to enjoy a game in Vegas routinely. And of course, Bill and I start like heaping shovels full of bullshit on this story of like, oh, wow, it's going to suck when, they lose and blah. So, yeah. Sorry, guys, I fucked it up. I'm the guy.
Yep. You jinxed it. Way to go, dude.
Yeah, but that was rough. And I'm not a sports guy at all, But I was like, you've got to be kidding me. What is happening here? Oh. Yep.
Bills have rebuilt their team, and the Patriots are in the process of doing it. I mean, they made it to the playoffs, and what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah.
So I had a little ice fishing adventure myself this morning, a little quickie. I had an hour to 2 hours between getting up and getting ready for basketball because my basketball games are on Sunday that I'm coaching. At least our home games are. So I'm like a little pressed for time. But luckily, I live on a pond. So we have about 5 inches solid of ice. I gave cousin John a call. He said, "I'm in, game on," because he lives about a 15-minute drive away from my house.
Nice.
So he shot over and he brought his young daughter. First time out on the ice. The christening happened. Charlotte has been out on the ice, and she watched a perch. She watched my youngest came out with us, and we got 1 flag all day. Actually, let me take that back. We have 2 flags all day.
Yep.
In the 2 hours we were out there, and the 1 flag that my son reeled in was a I don't know, 12, 13-inch perch. I'll take that in the cold.
Yep.
Now, the other flag, right when I set a minnow underneath the tip up, man, how many times have I harped about safety on this show, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that's real dangerous with ice fishing, never mind the ice and the elements, is the flags. Now, for you Southern listeners and Western listeners that are, you guys don't get ice, the flag, we're basically playing with mouse traps for fish.
Basically.
I think that's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
The flag, however, has a little tab on it that has a hook. Not a hook, but the tab goes underneath a part of the trap that basically swivels with the reel. So the reel under the water, the fish takes the bait, the reel spins, there's a lever on the reel, it flips this one switch, magic happens, and this wire metal with a tab on it flips forward at 5,000 miles an hour. So you have to be careful. Like I've taught my kids, like, hey, if you're going to do this, approach it from a certain side or watch this, watch that.
Yep.
Everything was freezing today. Metal was freezing to my hands. I don't know what happened. I got jagged up in the thing and the flag came up and caught me about 2 inches below my left eye.
Oh, no.
Fucking
That's close.
welt. I mean, let's see. That fucker right there.
Any more, that could have been really bad, dude.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I'm always wearing either glasses or sunglasses, but it could have been really, really bad. So even if you're trying to be careful and you know what's going on, shit can happen. So let me harp that in because I don't know. One of these days I'm going to come up on the show and I'll be missing a limb. It'll be great. But yeah, we did a little bit of hard water fishing for about 2 hours. Went to basketball. Kids won again, so we're 3-0 on the season. Got nothing to complain about there. They're playing like a team. I was telling my brother used to coach with us, and unfortunately he can't this year. He works in food service, and there's no people working in food service right now. So he is working, I think, two people's jobs, which is unfortunate because we loved having him on as a coach. And I always call him and let him know how the kids are doing and what they did this day. And honestly, what I'm so proud about, number one, I don't know how. Like, I was never a real defensive powerhouse player, and I've sold all the kids on defense, which is great. And then on top of that, they passed like a European team today. It was wide open shots under the hoop because they were making that extra pass, and that's all you can ask for as a coach. So I had a pretty good day, just almost took my eye out.
You'll win some, you lose some.
Win some, lose some.
You know?
Hey, it's two wins.
Yeah.
2 wins.
That's a good thing, man. That's good things.
Yep.
I did, my week's been different. Quite a bit different. I took advantage of right before things got really cold here. We had a nice little bump in temperature, a little warm system come through, and I decided I was going to take one last ditch effort to try to get some open water at the local rivers. And I saw some spots where there was some ice forming, and as temperatures kind of came up toward the end of the week, it was looking all right. So I hit up one spot and decided I'd put a dent in with some of those blade baits I had picked up, and you started throwing a net around and a finesse swim bait, and I got a couple of really good thumps on a finesse swim bait. It was really, really, really nice. Unfortunately, didn't have a whole lot of time, so I had to call it a day, wrap things up, and head back in. But man, I got a lot of stuff that's been going on. Sean and I have started planning a summer trip that where we're going to be. I think we talked about this before, even about doing a truck camping and then recording around the campfire while we're there because of basically scheduling conflicts and stuff like that. So that stuff is going on. Plus, I've been working on some new goals for 2022, and not just fishing goals. I have actually, I've got a couple of notes here that I'll go through. Some of those goals, 2 of them are fishing goals, and then the other ones revolve around podcasting. So first one that I'm thinking of, and I've voiced this before, 2 kayak trips a week. That's my goal. Twice on the kayak a week. And what I'm factoring there is that basically the number of weeks that I fish, I want to have double that number by the end of what I would consider the kayak season before it gets too cold. So like the end of October, middle of October, something like that. So within that, I want to have double the amount of weeks that are in there. That's ultimately what I'm looking for. And then the other one kind of is a little more timely. Goal number 2, input to database more regularly. because I'll tell you what, going through this entire year of data is a massive pain in the ass, a huge pain in the ass. And then the other thing that I've been trying to do is figure, because of time and the lack of time, like with inputting my database and stuff, I've got some real maintenance stuff that I've got to get taken care of. And I have zero time to do it. But luckily for me, I've got people nearby that can handle the job. And who I'm talking about, Old Glory Outdoors. I got a text. I had inquired about their reel cleaning services, and I got a text back from, believe it or not, Joe Brown. And I know what you're thinking to yourself. You're thinking, who the fuck is Joe Brown? Well, Joe Brown is the proprietor of Old Glory Outdoors. And I asked him, I said, I want to come by and, obviously ice fishing coming up. I want to pick up a jigging rod anyway. But I was like, I'm going to come by and I'm going to drop off some reels and get them all cleaned up. I said, what are the deals? Or what's the deal? How's it work? And he goes, He goes, we completely go through the reel. They're cleaned, including air compressed, which is kind of nice. They're fully lubricated, then tested to ensure that all parts are working properly. Here's the thing. It's a bargain. The most expensive service per reel is $10. So, like, if you want to maintain your stuff and you just don't have the time to do it yourself, or you also, because I take two strikes on this. One is the time. Two is the fact that I will fuck it up bad. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be like, there's extra parts. They just gave me extra parts. Must not need them. You know what I mean? I'm that guy. Yep. So I would rather have, Joe and the Old Glory guys handle this for me, because that's what they're there to do. They make life that much easier. Plus, I can make another excuse to go and get another trip into Old Glory and see all their smiling faces. Yeah. Especially Scott Patella told me. That's always nice.
Scott, Tinky Winky. Hey, I gotta really comment and commend you on the two goals you set.
Yep.
And for a reason. What your goals boil down to is you're looking to spend more time on the water.
Yep.
And you're looking to pay attention to what you're doing more.
To the details.
That's really what.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I hope everyone who's listening pays attention to that, because setting an unrealistic goal of, I'm going to catch my new PB. I use like numbers in a way, like I want to try and catch more largemouth. Because you can't control the size, that's an attainable goal if you really go for it, but it's going to be based on spending more time on the water. Really,
definitely, yeah.
What it comes down to. So, that's where it's controllable. But you've made two really solid, attainable goals, and that's awesome. So, everyone, Bobby Roast Beef is the tip of the spear. He has set the example. Follow that lead. Attainable goals. You're never going to be able to discern what size fish you get.
Yeah.
But you can control how much time you get on the water. That's good.
And the other thing too, it's like, you make a great point. Like you can't control the size of the fish that you're catching or anything like that. But I feel like this, when it comes to PBs, if you just let them happen, you know what I mean? Like this year I've gone through and I have gotten new PBs for largemouth, lake trout, rainbow trout, chain pickerel, and fall fish. And there might even be a yellow perch in there too. I have to look at the numbers. There might even be a new, so that's six new PB species. But again, a lot of this has to do with the fact that, like the lake trout, I've never caught a lake trout before. So it's like, it's giving me a baseline there. So if you just kind of let these things happen, that's for sure a good thing. The one thing I do want to jump in, and this is where my goals are very different, is with podcasting. This year has been amazing for Jigs and Bigs. Like, we've done a lot of great stuff in 2021, but I noticed some trends that I kind of want. I don't necessarily want to change the trends. I just want to be able to break through the plateau that we've kind of reached. So some of my podcasting goals are this: building the audience past its current plateau. We've been doing some pretty solid numbers with fluctuations that go up really, really high in the late winter and the spring. They take a little bit of dive into the summer. They start to pick up a little bit in the fall and kind of level out, and then they peak again in the spring. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens. I have a couple of strategies lined up. One of those things is a podcast tour. So what what I would like to do is this. I kind of want to throw a call out to action out to the listeners. If you guys listen to other podcasts, I listen to a lot of fishing podcasts too, but if you listen to other podcasts, you'd like to see myself or even Sean go on to these shows and vice versa. I'd love to do a guest exchange where we make an appearance on a show and then we have somebody else from another show on here and sort of just grow that network. So that's one of the things. The other one is I want to put more focus on the podcast than on growth on social media. And I think 2021 was one of those years where we started out really focused on Instagram, hyper focused on Instagram. And we succeeded. We met the goal that we had set. But I don't think that we necessarily, like, I feel like after, when did we hit that 10K? Was it in like June? No.
Spring or summer, right?
No. It was before we started a year. So it was early April we hit 10K is when we did it, and which is awesome. And we've been growing steadily. Think about it. Since that April, we've grown 30%, over 30%. That's awesome. That's nothing to be upset about at all. And then I want to put more focus on the podcast, on growing it. So I'm going to try to do more as far as integrating the show, the program, the content we create here and putting it on social media. And then I want to do some giveaways. But we got to get creative with how we're going to do that, because I'd like to do giveaways for listeners of the show. I think that would be really, really amazing. We can do like a 6-month-long giveaway, a program that runs maybe not that long, maybe 2 months or 3 months. We let this giveaway kind of go and people do their thing and we get submissions, and then we just do like a big special where we give away something really, really cool. And then for the third one, Loaded Potato comments, he says there are other podcasts. No,
he's not wrong.
That's true. There's not many like ours, but which I don't think that, I think that's a good thing that we're that unique. I think it is. Yeah. So that's one of the other things too. We have a good head start on social media, but growing the podcast, I want to try to give it more of a focus on our social stuff and keep things interesting and fun. And then the fourth one, and I put 3 question marks here, studio. I'd love to make that a reality.
I would too, but I think you could have put $3 signs instead. I'd love to get there, but I think that's probably in our future. We'll get there eventually.
I'd love to make it happen. I would love to make it happen.
I mean, not a day doesn't go by where you are so tuned into the media aspect of what we're doing here that I don't get a text saying, "Hey, I just found this app," or "I just found this out," or "What do you think of this?"
Yep.
I mean, you found a gem the other day. I'm not going to get too into it, but you saved me hours, endless hours of work on this one particular project I was thinking about. And I said, I remember us talking about it, and I said, wow, there is an app for everything. And app is, so we have something that's you've already started, honestly.
I've been tinkering with it. You guys have probably already seen some of the things that I've posted, to try to incorporate some stuff with the show. There's going to be, it's just a matter of, I think, like creating the right systems for it. And I think, we talked about doing the podcast tour too. I think like when it comes to fishing stuff, there are going to be shows that I might be a good fit for. There are going to be shows that you're a better fit for. But then there's also podcasts where we can obviously talk about podcasting, and we can talk about social media, and we can talk about sponsorships and things like that. And it could be amazing. It could be a really exciting sort of program for us to go and do this and just have these amazing conversations with people and then cycle it all back around. I'm really excited for you guys to hear this interview with Cody too at the end of this episode, because it is dynamite. We had a great conversation, like really touched on a bunch of different topics, unique stuff, especially even for this show, but just unique, I think, for the fishing world in general. It was really good. Yeah.
Excellent. We do have something to talk about too. Well, we'll talk about with Nelson about.
Yes.
Nelson and I, and speaking of crossovers with other podcasts, Nelson and I, being MAKB directors, we appeared on The Breakdown with Ken Wood and John Ferreira last week, and we did our big blowout special of the MAKB schedules, both for the Eastern and Western divisions. So, Nelson, I pulled up a copy of our schedule. Do you have one handy, or you want me to give you a second and I'll talk about the first one?
No, I have it. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Perfect. So we mentioned the dates. Was it last week, Bobby, or the week before? I know we mentioned the dates.
I think it was last week.
Yeah, I don't know. They all flow together at some point. Well, we have our dates. So I mentioned April 2nd. So MAKB Western members, this is going to be for you guys. We're going to open up the season at one of my favorite places to fish, and I know it's one of the favorite places to fish in the state. I corrected myself. I got that, Bobby. I see you smiling. A1 site out in Westboro, April 2nd. So what that's going to mean is as this is a trail stop for the western side of the state, we're going to open that a little early, probably 24 hours, if not more, in advance for Western members. Now, when you sign up for MAKB and pay your membership fees, you're going to choose Western or Eastern Division. That's coming on Fishing Chaos. If you choose Eastern, your points will count for Angler of the Year, but you're not going to be able to get at that shot first. If you're in the East and want to fish A1 real bad, you're not going to be able to. If you choose West, well, your AOY points for the East are going to be difficult and harder to come by. So, if you're in the West, fish the West. If you're in the East, fish the East. It looks like we're going to be alternating A1 every year, or give it a break every now and again. But for the most part, I was happy to get that. That A1 site is really on the line, the invisible line between the Western and Eastern divisions. So it's going to be popular with both. But again, Western Division folks are going to get first crack at that. We're going to need the Angler of the Year points. So when that opens up, pay attention to, I'm sure we'll say it on the Jigs Big Show. I'm sure the breakdown will say it, and I'm sure it'll be on the MAKB page on Facebook. Pay attention to that one. Nelson picked out the next one. Fire it up, Nell.
On the April 30th, we're going to Lake Rohunta, which is up in Athol. It's pretty much north central of our Western Mass area here. This is a great lake. It's at no matter what type of or style of fishing that you're into, whether it be deep drop shotting or it has a large area that's shallow with weeds, and it also has a area that's deeper. So if no matter what you're into as far as fishing style, I think you're going to find this lake a fun lake to fish. So,
and for clarity, I just want to make sure everyone heard us. The town is called Athol, Athol. We do not have a town in Western Massachusetts named Asshole. We are the assholes who live in Western Massachusetts, but we do not have a town named after us. We just got to make that clear.
That's my wife's hometown.
Your wife's from Asshole?
My wife, Rat Hole. You add an R and an E, Rat Hole.
There you go.
And Lake Rohunta, I think she used to go to as a kid. Like, I think there's a beach there. I think she might have actually brought my kids there before.
I think there's one on the south end, Nelson,
Maybe.
Right? Oh, no, it's on the north end. It's on the northeast side. I know where it is. Yes, there is one there. It's up by the dam. There's a beach area.
I don't think maybe more.
Yeah, the north side. That's where it is. It's up by the dam.
Yeah, on the north, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You know those Tooltown beaches.
Yeah. Exactly. So the third event, the third trail stop out of 7, I'll let actually Nelson run with here because, well, he kicked the shit out of everyone there last year by a lot. It wasn't even fucking close.
Yeah, this is east and west Washakum in Sterling, Mass. It's more to the eastern part of our Western Mass area here, and that's going to be May 7th. These two ponds are pretty amazing. Both of them are really good. East Washakum is a bigger and deeper pond. It has both smallmouth and largemouth. And then West Washakum is slightly smaller. It's all largemouth there. But that's West Washakum is a special pond to me there last year. Let's just say that. So that's going to be a good one. This is these two ponds will cater to anybody's fishing style. One of them is deep, and the other one is a bit more shallow. So no matter what you're into as far as fishing style, you're gonna like these two ponds.
The fourth event is we actually went to last year, but it's a little bit of a modification on this one. I was very happy to talk about that we were able to get access to the Chicopee River to use for a tournament last year. And we had, as a group, an adventure getting the boats in and out of there. We all acted like a team because the launch was not exactly easy. There's one place publicly you can launch. It's actually private land, but the owners of the private land are very good about letting the public fish there, which is nice, but it's a bitch to get in and out of. Mm-hmm. So what we did was we expanded the Chicopee River. We said we'll make it a road runner, and we're basically going to limit the area, the fishable area, from the Red Bridge area of in Ludlow all the way to the Route 33, aka Memorial Drive Bridge in Chicopee. If you can find a public launch in any of those areas, I think there's, what is that, Nelson? Like 5 segments of river because there's so many dams there. I think it's like 5.
Yeah, I'd say there's 4 or 5, probably 5 launches you can get into. Yeah.
Yeah. So good luck with that. Yeah, you could find a public launch. Good for you. I'm not spilling the beans on that. Or you can go to the death launch we went to last year. That's up to you.
That's a good stretch of river, though. There's a lot of good stuff going on there. Does 5 dams like that, does that constitute a goddamn?
That is several goddams.
Okay.
Yeah, that is. So yeah, there's a lot of fishable water there, and that should be a fun one. That'll be a road runner. Get on that. And then the next one. Well, the next one. The next one is our 5th stop. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I didn't say the date. The Chicopee River stop is going to be on June 4th. And Nelson, I don't know if he mentioned the Washacum event will be on May 7th. Also on the Washacum event, real quick, I just want to say thank you to the town of Sterling. That's a town beach and a town launch, and they're very good about letting us use it. So thank you guys, particularly their park and rec department handles that right now. I don't know if that's COVID related or if they always do it, but thanks to them. On to event number 5, July 23rd. We're going back to Cheshire Reservoir, the site of what may have been the most exciting nibbler off in the history of Massachusetts kayak passing. The lead changes at the end of the day were incredible. Everybody caught a limit. Everybody was calling. Nobody caught any big fish. Except for Dan Johnson. It was Dan Johnson, I believe. Dan Johnson cleaned up. He got a couple of, I think, 17s or 18s and won it that day, and that's all you needed that day. It's just, that's tournament fishing. You're not going to go out and catch 19, 20, 21-inch fish every day. A couple of 18s, he cleaned up. He did really well. Congrats to him. But we're going back, and we know where he fished. So, Dan, you better have eyes in the back of your head, buddy. Nelson, you want to wrap up the last 2, buddy?
Yeah, I can do that. This is going to be August 13th is our next tournament. That's going to be the 57 run, which we also did last year.
Cool.
This is it 4 or 5 lakes that we did, and super fun. You get to pick your own lake. There are limits on the lakes depending on the size. We kept it to 20 acres per angler on each lake. So some lakes only take 2 anglers. Some lakes will take more. But it was a lot of fun. And we're going to be going there again and doing that this year. Possibly adding some more lakes. We'll see about that. But we're definitely going to keep this one around because it was a lot of fun last year. And our last one, Ashmere Lake up in Hinsdale. This is up in the northern Berkshires. And this is one of those lakes that is almost split in 2. And you're going to have like one section that's a little deeper, some smallmouth bass, some largemouth bass. And then you have a section that's shallower, that's going to cater more to largemouth bass. But it's a pretty good sized lake, and it's, again, whatever you're into as far as your fishing style, you're going to like this lake. You're going to find some way of fishing it, and it should be a good one. I'm excited about. This is the one I'm most excited about, just because it just has so much to offer there as far as possibilities in your fishing style. So I can't wait to see what happens with this one.
Yeah, so there's our season, and then of course October will be the MAKB Championship, which is still TBD. I think Ken had us a date for it. I mean, honestly, go ahead and check out the breakdown. You're gonna hear this say the same things plus all the Eastern events.
Yep.
It's all there. Check it out. So there we go. We're fucking ready. Let's pull our socks up and catch some fucking fish. What is the problem, people?
It's pretty awesome, man. That
We're
is pretty
excited.
awesome. We got 4 Western, 1 Mass, 3 Bassin. Jumping in here says the Route 57 run was the best stop of 2021. I'm glad to see it back on the tour. It's definitely a unique one, and I remember, Sean, how excited you were when you were like, because I forget the exact scenario that kind of came up, but that was one that kind of got pieced together, like right around Trifecta, wasn't it? Like, weren't we driving down to Trifecta and you were like calculating like acreage and numbers of anglers? Yeah, I thought so.
It was fun. That was a lot of fun, and I might open it up for a couple more lakes to surrounding areas in the 57 run because it depends on really how many people we have. With it being a Roadrunner tournament, we're not taking up the parking at one lake, so you don't have to get a permit for every freaking lake.
No,
you know what I mean?
It's
You're
a cool
using
way to do it.
25 lakes. You can't take up the parking everywhere. So if I say a couple people here, a couple people there, if I say, like Nelson said, we use 20 acres an angler as a baseline. So some of the bigger lakes were 140 acres, 150 acres. You got 7 anglers on there. Others, you could only have a menage a trois.
I love it. I love it, man.
Yeah, so we had a blast with that one, and it is one of those things. Like, you may land on the lake that's hot, you may not. That's part of the game, and we only have, really 2 Roadrunners like that because one part of the Chicopee River could be good, one part could not. You never know, but
Exactly.
that's it adds a little bit more, a little spice, a little excitement. You got to get in there and do what you got to do.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think that's freaking awesome, man. A lot of fun.
Yep.
A lot of fun. So, I mean, 2022 is already starting to shape up to be pretty freaking awesome with all of the good stuff that we have going on. Man, we got so much stuff that we still got to get to.
I know.
We really do. This show has a lot of shit in it. It does.
What we can do right now, though, is it's getting late at night here on a recording night. We can actually bid Nelson adieu and start hitting all this shit because he's got to go to bed.
This is true.
Nelson, we were already planning on covering your FTG. The FTG this week is a combination of Nelson and Nate putting their heads together on social media and investigating a douchebag. So we'll get into the FTG later. But Nelson, thank you very much for jumping on and rocking and rolling with us on the ice fishing adventures and running through the MAKB stuff. And you and I have a little project we're working on Saturday, so I'm excited about that. It's top secret. I'd have to kill everyone if I told them.
Oh, goodness. It's that Belchertonian internet, man. That's what it is.
Hoth. The internet and Hoth sucks. He's making faces where there's no audio.
It's very incriminating, too.
I think he yelled help.
Help me, help me, help me. I need the dough.
A horrible delay, guys. Sorry.
It's all good.
It's all right, brother. We're going to let you go. We know you got to get to bed, go to work tomorrow. You have a job. You're a responsible, respectable human being, unlike us two.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's very true. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, guys. It was a blast. And
I need the dough.
yeah, I hope to see more people out on the ice with me.
It's just the start. That's the beauty of it. Just the start.
We got to get your dad, a paella, and Bobby roast beef together for their own little. I
think you're actually would be creeping Howie out if you were listening right now. Actually, maybe he's on the YouTube. He's a patron. He gets the link.
Is that a tentacle?
I need the dough.
This is what happens. This is what happens, guys. All righty, Nelson. Thanks so much, man, for giving us all the info on the ice over the weekend. Lots more. It's ice fishing is here. It's in the valley, and it's going to be awesome. And Your boy's going to get on the ice next weekend. That's the plan.
That sounds good, man. We'd love to have you out there.
Definitely, dude. All right, man. Well, we'll see you, all right? Take care, Nelson.
Later, bud.
There we go. All right.
I didn't realize he'd be transmitting from Hoth. I was like, hey, we'll get Nelson on. We'll talk. No, we won't. It's all good, man.
It's like little short messages, you know?
Yes, we did. Morse code. He was sending smoke signals. It's all good.
So we do. We got a bunch of other stuff. I'm looking over our notes here, our production sheet, and we got all kinds of stuff to cover. You had an amazing week. Why don't you dive into that and pick up there?
I can rip through this pretty good because my week was busy, but it was kind of fun. So first off, I want to shout out a little quick thank you. For ice fishing, I needed shiners. I needed quick. Normally, if I need shiners, I can go to Old Glory, knock them down there. No big deal. Eat one if I have to. I don't know if anybody saw the video. The general manager at Old Glory was captured on video eating the product. I mean, drug dealers will tell you you don't try the product yourself.
Exactly.
So, yeah, there's a video of Zach knocking down a shiner. Good for him. I can't say I haven't done it myself in the past, but there was a sum of money involved in my case. I think he did it for fun.
Yeah, definitely. Content.
So, exactly. So Saturday morning, I had to go somewhere quick, and the closest place to me is a small mom and pop tackle shop. It's actually in a residential neighborhood. They have a small business out of one of their sheds or garage. Little place in Windsor, Connecticut. Thank you to Joe's Tackle, which I had to mention because people right now are saying, who the fuck and where the fuck is Joe's Tackle? Well, I'll tell you. It's in Windsor Locks, Connecticut, and it's Joe. And I met him, and he's a nice guy. So there you go. If you need shiners and you don't have the time to get to Old Glory, you can need them in a pinch, Joe's Tackle's right down the road if you're in Western Mass. So that was cool. I also had a trip to Three Bells this past week.
Yes.
It was a quick trip on, what day did I go? Like Thursday or some shit? Friday? I don't even remember what day I went. Wednesday. I went Wednesday.
It was Wednesday.
Yes. So they are now, and have probably had, they wrapped up some of their business. They had some outstanding business that they had to knock down before they could really look at 2022. They are ready to go. I dropped off myself and Nelson's pedal drives from our natives. They are being maintained, cleaned out, lubed, etc.
Nice.
They're going to be ready to rock. So if you're in Connecticut, Western Mass, Massachusetts, and you need that work done, particularly with not only the brands they carry, but give them a call and see if they'll service anything else. If it's a brand they don't, Three Bells, they're looking to clean pedal drives.
Yep.
Maintain them; they'll last longer, folks. They're just like reels. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. It's pretty simple. I'll be cleaning reels while Three Bells is cleaning, or Three Bells is
cleaning pedal drives.
Cleaning pedal drives. I was about to say Three Bells are because it's plural, but whatever. It's late at night on a Sunday night. We're rolling. One of the other things,
I was gonna say we give grammar a back seat here.
Yes, we does. Yes, we does.
Indeed, we does.
Indeed, we does. One of the things that this is going to sound goofy, but we always try to open the beef curtains, peel them back.
Yeah.
For everybody in all aspects of stuff, because we are, for all the fishing I've done and all the media stuff you've done over the years, this for you and I, there's a lot of new stuff that we're seeing. Like I'm seeing a lot of media stuff, and on top of that, you're seeing a lot of fishing stuff. That's easy stuff, but then when it comes to some of the more advanced stuff we're getting into, that you and I are getting into with, becoming part of fishing teams, etc. There's all these little things you just never think about that they suck up time when you're doing stuff like this. So being a part of the Three Bells fishing team, obviously there's shirts involved, the fishing shirts, so we're all uniformed. So like when it comes to EKF tournaments, those of us who are fishing the EKF tournaments will be wearing the same stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's the same thing in MAKB. There's a uniform. We'll all have the same shirts and then different logos depending on our brands we're affiliated with or whatever. So this week was we got a message from Lauren and a deadline. Hey, here's what we need for shirt stuff. Send us your info so we can get things going. So that actually took up surprisingly a lot of my week doing that because shirt fitting. This isn't a company I've ever purchased from before, and I am an oddball size. I'm tall. And the real issue is never how the shirt fits around my body, it's always sleeve length, always, because
Yeah.
I have longer arms. So how do I judge that? Well, Ken Wood is a little bit shorter than me, not much. He's overseas 6'1", and he's got a bigger build than me. So I had to call him and say, okay, so what do you think? And we, I went back and forth on like sizes. Yes, I'm calling another man to talk about clothing sizes, but you got to do what you got to do, because if I get this shirt and, it looks like a belly shirt, I'm going to have problems. And I don't want to be representing Three Bells that way. So a quick phone call. And then, of course, any of the companies that we're involved with, Three Bells.
Yeah.
Well, Three Bells has their stuff on there, but Old Glory, Chronic Trips, Naqua was very nice.
Yep.
And I said, we've been working so closely. I said, I'm not on Naqua's fishing team, but they are involved in a number of our events.
Yep.
And I said, would you guys mind if I put that on my shirt? And they were happy to throw that out there and say yes. So Chronic Trips, Naqua, and of course, right in the middle, right on my Buddha belly, the biggest goddamn Jigs and Big logo I could get on there. So I had to put all that together, get that to Lauren, well, it's sizing. And then, it's, like I said, it takes up enough time that, when I'm not running around, I have to sit down in front of a computer. I really had to think things out.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to be at an event in a couple of weeks or in a month and everybody's wearing their nice new jerseys and I'm wearing the equivalent of spandex underneath a Three Bell sweatshirt because I look like a freak and I don't want that.
Well, and not only that, but like these jerseys are generally treated with SPF, so that way they're sun protected involved. If it doesn't fit you, you know what I mean? Even your arms, like the sleeves, like you said, the sleeves, if they're not long enough, like you're going to get sunburnt on the most awkward possible spots. You know what I mean? Because you could wear gloves to cover your hands and stuff like that. There are some people who absolutely they live and die by those fingerless gloves in the summer just to keep the sun off of them, and you could do that. But then what are you going to do about up by your wrists and everything? Like they got to cover, So, I don't think there's anything too bizarre about wanting the right clothes that fits you the right way. I'm in that same ballpark, man. I'm a very tough fit, but I'm the other way around. I'm freaking short as hell and I'm very round. So, for me, I've got a whole other separate kind of ball game to deal with there. We got Ryan Bogley jumping in with a simple comment. He says, boom. The butcher says, boom. He does.
Nah, boom.
Oh, good stuff, man.
I did notice earlier while we were chit chatting that fishing the sticks has stopped in this evening. Couple comments. Took the 14-year-old down to Bass Pro. Got a Vengeance rod. Congrats! Those Vengeance rods are a great starting point.
They're a great. I used a whole lineup of them for the longest time.
Yeah, me
They're
too.
good rods. They're solid rods.
I believe mine went to you.
I started with a bunch of medium heavies, but the Frog and rod before I started using the Phoenix, that was a Vengeance rod. This last year, I caught a bunch of fish on that.
Yep. So I had one last little thing about this week that I wanted to mention. A very rare occurrence happened.
Yeah.
I went to your trivia night Friday.
Indeed, you did.
And I fucking won it.
Yeah. No. You didn't want it. You slammed the door. You dropped the mic. How you went out.
That was close. That was too close. I could have lost on the last question.
Game. Yeah.
And that was real close.
Yeah.
But thankfully there was more than one question about comic books.
True.
And I cleaned the fuck up. The music round kicked my ass. Round 1 and round 3, I did all right. So yes, I'm very happy.
Those round 3 questions and the second half of round 2, if you get a question there that's kind of like in your wheelhouse, that right there is a huge boost to your ability on the scoreboard. But, there's so many wild cards that can happen there. It's freaking crazy.
Yeah, and you know what I was a little confused about? Well, not confused. I was a little surprised. So when a music question came up,
yep,
and the song was Mr. Boombastic, who's that?
Shaggy, yeah.
Yes. And my son had answered. My son had rang in. And
yes, that's right.
He knew I believe he got the question right, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep.
But he asked you if you knew it was Big E Cheese from, what movie was it? The Barnyard?
Yeah, I think it was the Barnyard movie.
So they showed me that. My kids showed me that months ago.
Did.
And I was like, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's a big rat singing it. I highly recommend that you watch it, particularly after, sleep aids have been administered. Yeah, there you go. You'll enjoy that. It's something else. It is ridiculous, and 5 minutes of your life you won't be able to get back, but you'll know.
Still, yeah. No, I was very curious. I was like, man, what the? I was like, I know he's right because I know it's been in a bunch of different movies. But speaking of, so the music round that I had done that night, and this is why I like doing this, is that like I'll go back. I keep a log of all the songs that I played for all the events that I do, so I can go back and look and say like, oh yeah, I did play this song, or if there's something that sometimes what'll happen is a random request will come by and I won't be thinking about like any type of a mashup or something like that. And I'll go back and I'll say like, yeah, that's right. Those work well. They're in the same key. They're in this, or I hadn't thought about putting them together this way. And I'll work with that stuff after the fact. I've been using those lists as lists for trivia based on the requests of the guests at the wedding reception and stuff like this. And this ties into our jig heads right here, because the butcher comments here and he says, only 94 days till Mr. Beef takes the mic at the wedding. Yeah. 94 days, man. Can you believe it? It's freaking nuts. It is freaking nuts. And you know what I love? I love the fact that their wedding is on a Friday. And I love the fact that I will be up first thing Saturday morning fishing my ass off. Because it's a spring wedding. It's going to be good.
Home run.
Yeah, it is going to be real good. So I'm looking forward to that, Ryan. We're going to have a good time. We'll schedule your meeting after maybe once we get into March. Maybe after the Eastern States Sportsman Show, we'll schedule that sucker. Make that happen. But man, crazy stuff. Yeah, that was a good win though, man. There was some stiff competition, And that's the other thing. You weren't the only computer geek. You weren't the only comic geek in the room. It was like that was pretty good. And you go down. I saw you throw the look over. You're like fucking Tracer.
I did. I not only I just got completely in a jerk mode. I didn't care. I stomped out the competition and that was it.
You set a goal and you achieved that goal.
I set a goal. I did. I say that, but I got bailed out on the last question because nobody that was in the top 5 got it right.
No, it was
if somebody.
I think Joe Mama was like if we had 10 teams, I think they were like 8th.
Yeah, so he stole the last question. So as we went into the last question, I was in first by a short and curly.
Yeah.
But Joe answered the question, so nobody got any points but Joe, and I thanked him on the way out.
No, that was good.
So thanks for bailing me out, Joe. He goes, yeah, for all the good it did me.
That was a lot of fun.
I don't care. I won.
So we should go ahead and wrap this first segment by informing you guys of a handful of things. First and foremost, our 100th episode show live recording is coming up so unbelievably soon. This is an amazing event. We actually just had a couple more tickets get sold just today. Folks are starting to get their tickets because they're putting their plans together and everything. It's a $10 ticket to come on in, and we have a whole lot of fun. You can win some prizes. You have a great time. Very engaging. We're going to do an AMA. We've got a couple of special guests coming out. Really excited to have both of them. This is going to be a whole lot of fun. When we get a little bit closer, I'll announce who the guests are. I think when we get probably like during that month of the show. No, I guess it won't work. Maybe. Wow, dude, this show is coming up quick, man. Holy cow. Yeah, just dawning on me that it's the 21st next Friday. Oh my God. But things are coming together. Luckily, we have an amazing Deal or No Deal parody for all of you guys who are come out and attend this show. Whole lot of fun lined up. Great stuff coming up. So that's the 100th episode live show, and tickets are available, jigsandbigs.com. Just click on the banner on the website. You can get your tickets right there. What do you got for me, Sean?
I've already started both receiving and compiling prizes for the Deal or No Deal.
Nice.
Yes. One of them is just simply kingly. It's a kingly gift.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
You know what it is? I am very excited that somebody will walk out of there with that. And you guys are going to love this. There's obviously with some of our virtual vendors, they're putting prizes in. So there's good stuff out there. I know what's on the way, and we're excited. So please jump in. If you're going to buy the tickets, buy them soon. That's all I can tell you. We're pumped.
It's going to be awesome. I did hear from Reaction Tackle. They're interested in being in, but they want to throw some ideas around for prizes and stuff. So we'll be announcing them shortly once they jump on and secure their spot. We have, a lot of groups. In fact, Cody from Jigmasters, I just got an email in my inbox today about a shipment coming to us for the show on the 5th. So great stuff. You guys, trust me, you guys are not going to want to miss out on this. Like, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Grab your tickets. It's going to be great. Fishing report, of course, now that we have ice in the valley, and now that this is, like I said, this is the first big send for ice fishing in Western Massachusetts in our local region, you're going to see a whole lot more coming from the fishing report on a more routine basis. We're reading like, oh yeah, Bobby got 2 thumps on the river. Nobody cares. You know what I mean? But this way here, you can get actual readings for like, hey, what's this pond looking for ice? What's the thickness like here? Or is it getting hammered? Or, you find out all of the information so you can go out and plan your outings the best way possible. We do have merch available at jigsandbigs.com. We've also got some giveaways coming on Instagram as we build followers there, but we are also going to be doing some giveaways coming very, very soon for podcast listeners specifically. Like they might include like a keyword, something like that. It's going to be awesome. Like think like old school radio shit. That's what we're trying to bring in here. Like, it's going to be fun. It's going to be real good. And then, we are adding some stuff on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, you should definitely go and check it out. What can you look forward to? Well, we're going to have a lot of like highlights and things like that from the show. So segments, questions, little pieces here and there with different guests, us covering different topics, maybe specific segments that you guys like, maybe just the tip or FTG, things like that. We're going to put those together, and then we'll have a place for that stuff right on YouTube. You can go and check all this stuff out as well. And then, as this channel starts to grow, we'll have a video counterpart that will exist there on top of it. Stuff that it goes beyond sort of the regular podcast show. I think you'll really enjoy. And, of course, our Spotify playlist, always growing and adding more stuff and good things. I think we have the makings of some good stuff for everybody. So,
yep. Bobby, just want to put a bow on this.
Yep.
Just so you know, we have talked the past couple of weeks about the merchandise site being down for maintenance. It's actually Mantis's whole site is pretty much under construction right now. They'll be back up soon. We'll let you guys know when they're back up.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, our merch is available at jigsandbigs.com, assuming once their site, the store is up and running. You know the deal. Anyway, guys, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back with this. We've got just the tip. This week, I am talking about Instagram giveaways. Why do people do them? What's the point? What's the right way to do them? What should you expect in doing them? We'll talk about that more in just a bit, guys. And we got much more show coming up right after this. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code Jigs and Bigs, and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan "Start 'em young" to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code Jigs and Bigs. Save some money and gear up now.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
Indeed.
You know what? You should say, Bobby, Sean, and the tip are having a threesome.
I need to dump.
Why? All right. So I apologize if we disgusted you folks already, but let's go ahead and reel this sucker back in here. And this week's Just the Tip. You know, you see this stuff all the time on Instagram. You see this constantly. Giveaways. All these companies and all these startups, they're all doing giveaways. All these influencers. Everybody's doing a giveaway. Why do people do giveaways? What's the right way to do a giveaway? Like, what's the incentive in doing a giveaway? And what about the other people related? So I'm going to, again, like Sean had mentioned, we pull back the beef curtain and explain a lot of what we do here and sort of the mind, the sort of the position of our mind collectively when we make these decisions. So we had a goal to grow our Instagram. And the short answer is that the reason why people do giveaways is twofold. Primarily, it's to grow an audience. That's primarily the reason. But the other reason is to engage an audience. Nothing gets people engaged and commenting and liking and following directions than winning stuff. You know, I mean, it's true. If somebody has the opportunity to win stuff and they read something, they're more likely to follow through on things if there's like something for them to do. Now, how do giveaways work? Well, I mean, the general gist of it is this. When a profile creates their own inside giveaway, generally what you want is you want the page that has the largest following to create that giveaway. And if you're a creator and you don't have somebody in your network or in your circle that you're close to that has a large following, there's actually pages that do this. Sometimes that's all that they do. So you'll notice, I'll give you guys the exact page. It's called Big Fish Giveaways. It's a Instagram profile that has hundreds of thousands of followers, and we partnered with them in a giveaway. Why? Well, what they would do is they would give away a high-end item, and they would charge a share of that to a certain number of profiles. And on that, you would be on a must-follow list. So our intention in doing this was to be on this list that would get lots of visibility and get lots and lots and lots of follows, organic followers, actual users, people who wanted to win this prize. And what happened was the first time out, we grew by thousands of followers. It was unbelievable. And then we noticed a trend that every time that we would go and do the same thing, it would be a little bit less and less and less. And it's because
law of diminishing returns.
Exactly. The law of diminishing returns. So you start out that way, and you might even want to say that the reaction that you get from your first experience with a giveaway and your current experience with a giveaway can often be summed up like this.
Using crack and cocaine to get high, that's what you say you know. But it's really insane. You could die. What are you thinking of?
But the reason why I say that is because when you partner with a certain group, your numbers, your growth will never be as large as it was that very first time that you made that impact. That's not to say that it's not worthwhile. It's up to you to decide when it's worth it for other things. Now, the alternative reason for doing a giveaway is for engagement. Because what happens is as you start to grow this audience, you want to make sure that more and more people are seeing your content. And by setting up a giveaway on your own and partnering with other people, you can then help other brands, other startups, other profiles, other content creators, whomever wants to be involved with your giveaway, basically the contributors of prize elements that come together. What you do is you have, then you're acting as that profile that's posting and advertising this giveaway. And what's happening there is then people are then following all of these other accounts. So that's kind of what it gets down to. Now, how is a giveaway done? The best way, the easiest way, and Sean mentioned it earlier, there's an app for that. I highly recommend using one of the Instagram giveaway apps that are available on the App Store on Google Play. Check those out. They're easy to use. Basically, it's just a matter of copying a link on a post on your giveaway post, and then inputting that into the giveaway app, and it will basically choose everything based on what you have entered in there. So if you want it to choose a comment that has 1 tag or 5 tags or however many tags you want put in there, you can set that, and it will search it and then give you your winners. And then in some of these cases, some of these apps will give you alternate winners too, in case like that first winner didn't check all the boxes that they were supposed to. Stuff like that. So that's basically what it is with giveaways. That's the reason why you do them. Just starting a giveaway and expecting to get all of these followers isn't necessarily going to work for you. And let's be honest here, a lot of people get confused really easy when they see a post for a giveaway and it's being shared all over the place. It's all about that original post. So if you're planning a giveaway, you'd like to do a giveaway on your own, what I would do is I would recommend you look at your circle and then you strategize it the right way so that you partner with whomever has the largest following in your circle. Start it there and then grow on outward like that. And remember, doing your own giveaway, if you don't see if you do it in-house all by yourself and you're gauging it on followers, you may not see this huge amount of growth, but what you will see is a ton of engagement. And that engagement is good for everything on your profile. It's 100% going to help you be seen overall. So let's go ahead and just call that. That is why folks do giveaways. That's what you can expect out of a giveaway. And how to actually facilitate a giveaway is very easy. Yeah, there's an app for that. You can go ahead and check it out. You don't have to overcomplicate anything. I'm Bobby Roast Beef. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, guys. What about you, Sean? I'm curious because before you started working with Jigs and Bigs, you were not a big Instagram person at all. Like, what was your take on giveaways initially?
I didn't quite get what was going on. I'm like, okay, they're giving shit away. All right, what's the catch? And I'm always really pessimistic about stuff. And I was like, well, I'm not touching this shit. It didn't matter if it was somebody close to us or somebody not. I don't know what's going on. And then probably about 5-6 months ago, I started talking to you and said, how can this benefit us? And honestly, you just said, take the reins and take the ball and run with it. Yeah. Like, just do this. And you've kind of, I don't know, kept me in check on learning how to do this. And this whole giveaway that we've done for between the Bobby Roast Beef, Sean the Fisherman, and Jigs and Bigs accounts, every time there's a giveaway, you're doing the drawing, but I'm doing everything else, which has been a great learning experience.
I find that what works best is if you're going to be doing a giveaway, just plan it out. Plan out what it is that you want to put together. Craft a draft. I recommend using whatever notepad app you have. Create a draft of the post and review it a handful of times. Maybe have some friends look over it and say like, hey, does this make sense? What do you think of this? Should I include this step, or I want to do such and such? And, there's other ways to do giveaways too. I've seen people do giveaways before on Facebook. I've seen folks do giveaways on Twitter. I've seen folks do all types of different things. What we're trying to do right now is figure out a solid way to do a giveaway using the podcast, my head immediately goes to reviews, so like leave us rate and review our show on like Apple Podcasts, and we'll do a random giveaway to a winner there, something along those lines. But I know that, there's a lot of folks that listen to this on a variety of platforms like Spotify, and the rating system over there at Spotify is a little bit different. So we have to get creative and figure out how exactly we're going to do it. I don't know. We'll get there those soon. Trust me. Your boy Bobby Roast Beef has the wheels are turning up here. We're gonna figure something out for sure. But
the nice thing about working with you on this, and this is, God, I'm going to use the A word. This has given me a small advantage in the learning process over somebody who's just doing this on their own. Is you're letting me go out and do some of this stuff, and also letting me make my mistakes first and letting me correct them if I do make mistakes. Like, I remember one of the initial posts I put up, you're like, hey, I know you put that up. This is how we do it better next time.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you explained why. I'm like, oh, I
You're
fucking
like,
understand.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely in a good position where I have your mentorship doing this stuff and I'm learning it. Not everybody has that. And what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Other than email Bobby Roast Beef.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that the other thing too is that like doing a simple search on YouTube for any of this stuff, if you're looking, like, it's tough sometimes to find the most up-to-date information, but I mean, there's stuff out there, and if you can filter through it and get what I've always said is there's a lot of BS out there, but the whole thing is if you can look at it and just kind of get a little bit of perspective all the way around, and then after you're done, take a step back and then filter it. Figure out what works for you, figure out what your goals are, all that stuff. But giveaways are fun. They're a whole lot of fun. I'm a game guy. This is what I like doing. I like it when people win prizes. I like it when people, have a good experience and they're just like, there's, for a while pre-COVID, there was a time where I was giving away like hotel stays in like Vegas, Orlando, and all kinds of stuff like that. And it would, it was hard to win. It was really hard to win. Like you had to play deal or no deal. And like it was when somebody did win them, like just that joy on their face, it was like, oh, unbelievable. Just like when Cody won that Lockwood giveaway with all that gear, like the Doomsday rods and the G bags and like all that crazy stuff. And then, I mean, even the trip, with the picnic lunch in Maryland. I mean, come on, that's like a once in a lifetime, experience.
Lockwood is a once in a lifetime experience, win or lose.
It's true.
We love Cody.
He's do.
Great.
Did you see the reel that dude put up?
No, I did not. Which one?
So I know you and I have had this conversation about, and again, you guys, you need to understand, Sean and I, we're getting old.
We got old a long time ago.
Let's just say the nomenclature takes a little while for us to catch up with, and I've seen a lot of posts where people are like on Tuesday posting pictures of fish and they say, oh, Taco Tuesday. Cody put up a reel and I was just like, yes, this is one for the old heads. He was like, how's this for your Taco Tuesday? And he does, how they're like Joe Brown, or who the fuck is Joe Brown? But, he holds up when he does his reels, he takes, it's like a selfie and he pulls up a largemouth and he's just like, let's fucking go. Right. It was that same action, but it was Lockwood and he's holding up a crunchy taco from Taco Bell.
I did see that one. I'm sorry. Yes.
Like, dude, yes. That's great.
Fantastic. If anybody could mention or send us a message on Instagram, I am not looking this up. I'm going to be lazy about this. Send us a message to Jigs and Bigs on Instagram. What's the fucking origin of this Taco Tuesday pertaining to fish?
Pertaining to fish. I get Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love taco. I'm a fat guy.
Dude, we had Taco Friday and I had leftover Taco Saturday. It's great.
That's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing. But I have a question for you, Sean.
Hit me with some funny shit.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
Now that, my friend, is what we call a transition that is smooth AF. That was smooth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, this week in F and Fuck That Guy, we have sort of a hybrid FTG. It goes from the binary world of social media to the hard ice tundra of Western Massachusetts.
Of Hoth.
Of Hoth, yeah. Tell us a tale, Sean.
Well, we talked with Nelson before we started today, and Nelson said that he had spoken with my friend and yours, Nate Shagnon.
Dude.
And they had conspired that they found a Fuck That Guy candidate. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of abbreviate this story. Nate was online, apparently was planning on joining Nelson ice fishing. The pond they were going to, someone had posted a picture of 50 guys on the ice with that pond's name underneath it. Nate got wind of it and said, "Is this the pond we're going to tomorrow?" Nelson said, "I will check it out." Drove to that pond, saw one or two ice fishermen, but Nelson thought to himself, rightfully so, there would be evidence of 50 people on the ice, meaning anywhere from 50 to 250 holes in the ice.
One might say
you can see.
that pond might look like Swiss cheese.
True statement. Well, Nelson got there, did a roundabout inspection. Wasn't a very big body of water. A couple ice fishermen out there said no, it had been slow. They hadn't seen anyone there.
He did an ocular pat down of the ice.
True story. He
Nice.
gave it a full cavity search.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So Nelson did that, then got back to Nate and said, "No, you have been duped." And this gentleman was obviously lying about this spot to either keep people away from there or keep people away from his true spot. Because sometimes you see a lot of people on the ice. People say, "Well, there's fish being caught there. I should go there too." It's weird with ice fishing. And Nate's response was a pause and simply, "Fuck that guy, dude." So people who lie on social media about fishing spots, fuck them. I guess.
Generally, here's the thing. Like, it's this weird juxtaposition. I understand you don't want a bunch of people showing up at your spot. And I suppose on one hand, what you're doing is putting out information about a fishing spot, saying like, look at all these people here, trying to drive them either away from it or create it so that the information that's being fed there on social media, you kind of take the truth out. You lessen its ability to have influence on people because they don't know if they can trust it. I get that. But at the same time, like, you're probably better off just not posting anything about specific spots at all.
True.
You know what I mean?
True.
I think that's like the best way to go about and do it.
Yep. I had an incident a couple years ago where a friend of mine got in touch with me regarding some pictures he'd seen online of purportedly his lake. He has a small his family has a small cabin on a local lake. It is public, but the access there is shaky at best.
Yeah.
Yeah, questionable. So he said, "What is going on here?" And he sent me a screenshot of this gentleman holding up what appeared to be about a 40-inch pike. And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Look at the label." And he circled it, and it was the pond with his family's cabin on it. And I said, "Well, let me investigate." So I looked further, and this gentleman was posting pictures all over the place of him catching pike everywhere. And I said, "I know there's not pike in certain bodies of water he's posting on." And then the smoking gun was, there were three pictures posted of my buddy's, labeled as my buddy's property on the lake. And I looked at one of them, and there was a gigantic, I mean, garage or shed sized white boulder, pure white.
Okay.
In the background, there are no white boulders around anywhere.
Yeah.
It's relatively flat. There's one area that has a little bit of a hill. There's a bluff, but it's not a boulder and it's not white. This was so easily identifiable, and I just called my buddy back and said, "Where on the lake is there a fucking garage size white boulder?" And he said, "There's not." And I said, "This guy's a troll. There's no pike in the lake. Don't worry about it, especially not 40 inches. Like,
yeah,
don't worry about it." I think I did review the stocking records of that place while I was poking around. I think I saw the DCR, the Department of DCR. God damn it, not the D. Is it DCR?
It is DCR up here.
Yeah, the DCR. I was thinking the Department of Corrections. It's so late at night. What the fuck?
Is that what they do with the inmates? That they're like, we don't want this one. Let's stock them in such and such pond.
Yeah. Hey, you got 5 years at a minimum security prison. You're going to be stocking trout. Oh my God, it's been a long weekend. So the DCR, the Department of Conservation and Resources in Massachusetts, I think did try to stock pike there in like 1960. None would be alive at this point, and they never got a foothold. It's all chain pickerel in there. So
yep.
Basically what it came down to was this douchebag was an online troll. Just he's posting pictures around, misinformation. It fucking screwed my buddy up. I saw that boulder and said, just ignore it.
Have you ever spotted? It's interesting because like with a landmark like that, that's something that would stick out. Like, have you ever been at a pond like since then, or a lake, and been paddling around or making your way around, and you're just like, holy crap, there it is.
The white boulder? No, dude, that could have come from anywhere. I doubt it would be even in the Northeast because, I mean, we don't have pike waters like that. It was I don't know. I mean, we do, but it's just like I don't know of anywhere with this white boulder like that. It was just it just stuck out, and it was evidence. And the guy was a troll, and my buddy got sucked into it, and that was that. I mean,
and that's a good point. Like, some people just love fucking around with people's mental state online.
Yeah.
You know, like they just like getting some kind of a reaction, generally because they have nothing good going on in their own lives.
True.
You know?
Very true. So there's douchebags out there. We've encountered them as part of Jigs and Bigs.
Yeah,
we had that.
That's true.
That one rush of douchebags one day that confused the fuck out of me. You were like, just roll through it. And I'm like, what is happening?
Oh, the douchebaggery was strong that day.
Yes, much douchebaggery.
I remember that.
So yeah, just take everything online, whether it's fishing or not, with a grain of salt.
Yeah. You'll be better
That's all
off.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk chronic trips, because now that we're seeing ice, now I'm really thinking that we're going to start seeing some things heat up a little bit. No, I mean, no pun intended there. As far as action with entries and things. Now, granted, we're only like the first like big sort of send into ice fishing here locally. What are you seeing with chronic trips?
So we've got 2 people in this one right now. Again, this is starting slow because ice is just forming.
Yep.
A lot of parts of the country are in that dead zone where people don't want to fish right now. Nelson and Nate are one-on-one right now. Anybody can jump in and get in on this.
Yeah.
That's pretty simple. And they don't have a ton of fish turning because ice just turned on.
Yep.
This is not like it's a normal chronic trips or Jigs and Bigs tournament where 2 weeks in you've got some major fish being caught. This is just the beginning.
Yeah, it's just
Please jump in. We got prizes. We got cash prizes.
So
jump in.
If I could make a suggestion to anybody right now who's like, I'm going to go and do some ice fishing and, maybe jump in on this. Maybe I'm thinking about it. It's early 2022. Lots of folks have not gotten their fishing license yet. And they're waiting for that first send to go. While you're online doing this, while you're online getting your mass license or the license in whatever state that you're fishing, because Chronic Trips is another nationwide tournament. I mean, you can jump in anywhere. Why not just go ahead and download the Fishing Chaos app while you're at it? And then set up your membership to whatever degree you want, and then join those tournaments. Join Chronic Trips, and then you can join Jigs and Bigs when we start in the spring.
Yep. And another reminder, too, with it being nationwide, like you just said, it's fresh and salt water. Somebody's out, hey, Chesapeake Bay, that's where all the stripers hang out in the winter.
Yeah.
You guys can catch stripers and turn them in.
Cha-ching. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's easy. There's a prize for, you can go out and catch any fish listed. We did make that change. So any fish listed, if you turn it in, there's your biggest fresh and biggest saltwater fish. Hey, I just caught a 14-inch snapper bluefish. Congratulations, you just won a prize. That's it. It's that easy.
Yeah, it's that simple. So check it out, folks. The Chronic Trips on Fishing Chaos, Jigs and Bigs tournaments are going to be coming up soon as well. And we've got Cody Jennings. Cody Jennings from Jig Masters. If you have ever found yourself in doubt, you know to get the fucking jig out. Jig Masters. I did try so hard to get Cody to give me anything with what was either coming to us for prizes for the 100th episode, to which he said he wants it to be a surprise. You'll hear that discussion. And then all I know is that there's some new stuff coming from Jig Masters, and he mentions he mentions a couple of new baits that sound pretty exciting. So check that stuff out. Plus, we go on a wild ride of a conversation. Cody's a great discussion. Every single time I've ever gotten a chance to talk to him, we're going to do this again. It was that good. Take some opportunity, guys, and give this a listen. Cody Jennings and I, we're going to be back after this quick message from our good friends at Three Bells Outfitters. Go and get yourself rigged up. Get yourself a new kayak, and trust me, they make it really, really easy.
They should maybe have a new motto.
Yeah?
Three Bells Outfitters. Bing bong!
Fuck your life. All right. We're going to take a short break. We'll see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far. We are morons. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce that we're being supported by Three Bells Outfitters. Located in Smith Cove on the Niantic River, TBO is Connecticut's premier paddle sports retailer. They're a full-service shop specializing in kayaks and paddleboards for everything from recreation to tournament fishing. Three Bells is an authorized dealer of Hobie, Jackson, Feel Free, Native, and Bonafide kayaks, as well as many paddleboard brands. Not sure of what kind of SUP or kayak you want? TBO offers free demos of all brands. Want to go for an extended test drive? They have a full-service rental facility on site. Three Bells also offers a complete rigging service for your kayak with such brands as Yak Attack, Yak Gear, Burley Pro, Yak Power, Torpedo, and more. The sky is the limit. You can visit Three Bells Outfitters in person or online at threebellsoutfitters.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. Can't make it to the store to pick up your kayak or worried the freight company might damage your purchase? Three Bells Outfitters offers a white glove delivery of kayaks within a 225-mile radius of their store at a rate less than typical freight carriers. They will deliver your kayak, set it up, and answer any questions you may have. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tell them Jigs and Bigs sent you. Three Bells Outfitters, because life is better on the water. Alrighty, guys, Bobby Roast Beef here. We got a special guest this week for us. We got Cody Jennings. You know Cody. He is the owner and operator of Jig Masters. Jig Masters is an amazing brand. We've had Cody on before, and he's just an awesome guy. He's an awesome angler. He's an awesome engineer as well. He's developed some very, very cool and kind of innovative designs, and he's got some great baits. Cody, how are you? How's things?
Oh, I'm just staying busy. Pleasure to be back on.
Awesome, man. Awesome. That's great. So a couple of things. This show is going to run before our 100th episode. And your Jig Masters is one of the virtual vendors for our 100th episode special. That's in front of a live studio audience, which means that so people are going to have some opportunities to win some amazing prizes from Jig Masters and a bunch of the other virtual vendors that are out there too. Have you given any thought to what you want to put on the Deal or No Deal board, or are you going to leave it up to a surprise?
I think I'm going to leave it up to a surprise right now.
I like that. I can get behind that. Build suspense. So we're psyched to have you, man. We appreciate you being a part of it. The group that we're raising funds for, Make Massachusetts Fishing Spots Great Again, amazing organization. I think it's something that almost any angler that we've spoken to, that we've kind of crossed paths with since we're doing this, could get behind what they're doing. So enough about that show. Let's talk about how have things been. I mean, it's been a while. We haven't talked since like the spring, I think, like the mid-spring sometime.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere been about 3/4 to a full year.
Yeah,
somewhere in there. I think since last time I was on the show. Yeah, I mean, honestly, things are going pretty well. Definitely have taken the time this year to really kind of dial in a lot more on the like the financial side of the business and that kind of things. And I'm pretty excited for 2022, as crazy as life seems to be getting out there.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny. It's like it's the weirdest situation. This whole this entire podcast is kind of born in it. It's like it's wild, the stuff that's going on. As far as last time we talked, I know that you had, I think that was right around when you had released the new finesse jig. Anything else coming around? How's that been doing? Have any feedback with it? I fell in love with it.
Yeah. I just made a few little kind of improvements on the finesse jig so if somebody orders now compared to when they originally did.
Nice.
I did swap to a 4/0 hook versus a 3/0 just to get some hookup ratio improvement.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then the line tie just sticks a little bit more proud, and that's more for a processing issue compared to actually the angler's aspect. But this year I really kind of sat in, and I got into a phase previously where I was just launching new baits like crazy.
Yep.
And then finally it's like, okay, I need to, pump the brakes here a little bit. Everybody's going through the fun supply and demand issues for materials and stuff. It's like, okay, I need to kind of protect the nest versus growing the nest for a little bit and kind of dial in some of my, from like the financial side, but also just hey, I got some low hanging fruit on, small design improvements on my current product. Not that I haven't really designed further, but I wasn't really seeking to launch new products for a while.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to actually change here in 2022.
That's awesome, man. That's the whole thing. Like, this is industry wide. It's been such a roller coaster. Everybody's feeling the pinch, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff is out of everybody's hands. So I can only imagine the frustration that you have to deal with. Now, when you had we had scheduled this event, you had left a couple of notes here, which is really awesome. And I want to touch on a couple of those. We'll just kind of break them down and go over it. But one of the things you mentioned you wanted to talk about was the major price spikes that are happening in the fishing industry. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more about any specific spikes that you're talking about, like in one specific area as far as equipment or anything, or where you kind of stand on all this stuff? We can kind of talk.
Yeah, so it's kind of a dual factor. So, and the reason that I want to talk about it as a topic, because this is actually the first year that I've ever had to do like a price increase to basically, make things kind of work to keep going.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt even bad for doing it, but then I looked on Tackle Warehouse and found out that, hey, I'm actually late to the party. So,
yeah.
But anyways, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So one of them, as far as from a smaller business aspect, obviously I'm not Strike King or anything like that.
Yeah.
To where a lot of the smaller businesses have actually lost like bulk pricing.
Yep.
So, and that is honestly, that's one of the first major things that kind of separates let's say the largest of the small businesses or medium business, whatever you want to call it, compared to, Joe in his garage making 25 jigs a month.
Yep.
As far as being able to go for profitability. So that's been one. And then two, you have just had material price increases for most components, swivels, hooks, the biggest heartache, not necessarily from a price increase standpoint, but from a supply issue has been like the silicone skirting.
Yeah.
The skirting's been a real big one. But yeah, you're just seeing, so you have price increases in the components. And then on top of that, you're now seeing in today's world that, hey, all the labor rates are increasing, right? So, I got to protect for, hey, if I have somebody hired here in the garage pouring lead, where maybe they used to be excited to do that at, making up numbers here, but $10 an hour, hey, nobody's coming in this door at 15 or less.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to protect for that as well. And then even on the farther back end of it too is, well, in theory, my cost of living has increased too.
Sure.
So if the concept is me to do this for a quote unquote living.
Yeah.
I got to be able to put food in the dog's mouth as well. And so like where a lot of times people just quick look at it and be like, oh, well, material's more expensive. And it's like, well, it's actually a little bit of a farther or larger equation.
Yeah, and also like not only are materials that much more expensive, but they don't have to adjust much because everything around it's going to adjust as well before you start to feel the pinch, And what I find is, because we had a recent segment on this last week's show on our FTG segment where we had a custom bait maker in New England who had called and left us a voice message expressing his frustration with somebody who is, I guess, a name in the tournament world, kind of like giving him a hard time about his prices and where they were set. And said, oh, you should be more comparable to these other brands, which are mass produced and are buying resources at different bulk rates than, maybe these smaller companies or startups necessarily can afford,
Yeah, and one thing I don't necessarily love in, I shouldn't even say the industry, maybe just in the world period, right? So you have a custom bait maker and he values his time at some certain number. No idea what it is, but he's got probably some number that he has in his head and he says, hey, I don't really want to do this as, whether it's a hobby, a side hustle, his own, career, whatever, unless it's for realistically this rate.
Yep.
And, if that's what he has to charge to do that, and I'm just, once again, low-hanging fruit, assuming that he's dialed out as much cost as he can, it's really not for somebody else to say whether whatever he charges is unfair or not.
That's exactly it.
And now, on the other side of that also doesn't mean the customers have to pay that either.
Yeah.
That's something that he has to evaluate. Like, hey, if I have a, whatever bait it is, let's say it's custom swim bait or whatever, and it's $25 and, only one person buying it a month. But if I move that price to 20 and I'm getting 100 orders per month, that's all stuff that guy has to weigh out. But as far as anybody going out of their way to bash that, I personally think that's pretty immature.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's the thing.
Don't make it tougher on anybody else.
I feel like everybody would love a bargain. I mean, who wouldn't love to save a buck? Let's just be honest. Even you ask any business owner if they have the opportunity to, buy anything and save a little bit, they're going to definitely go for it. But it's like, with that said, like, you just gotta look at the value. And I think that there's this big disconnect when it comes to the consumer end of it and seeing these things happen. Like all of these manufacturers are now having to make it up. And if they're not doing like millions of units, they're paying different rates, and then they have, other things that they have to factor for. So, yeah, and I like your use of the term late to the party, because I feel like in my business, I had to change my rates just this year. And I was like, I haven't touched them since 2019. Obviously, I haven't been doing a whole lot until we got to halfway through 2021. But, like, I left my rates alone, and then I kind of found out the same thing. I'm like, oh, no. People are charging because much, much more. And
poor Bobby couldn't actually afford the roast beef anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we had to switch to bologna. Yeah, exactly. See?
Gotcha.
Nice. No, it's just it's bananas. I mean, it's tough, and the shortages, like, it's just crazy. I can only imagine if you have like orders that are on and you don't have the inventory. Like, that's got to be a huge headache.
Yeah, I mean it's been a weird year this year.
Yep.
Because normally I've always been on the proverbial, hey, if you're not growing, you're dying, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, I mean, a lot of this last year here was, hey, I need to hold ship and make sure that my current customers are taken care of before I go even seek out new business.
Yeah.
Whether it's more stores, whether more people, even trying to pursue new products.
Yep.
Because a lot of times too in the tackle world, hey, a lot of times, you might use the same hook for 7 different products of yours.
Yeah, exactly.
Depending on what you're making. So yeah, it is. There's a lot more of, like, this year was a lot more about protecting and surviving the storm.
Yep. Survival. Yeah.
Now, me from I guess my personal viewpoint on it is that if you were a bait maker and of, relatively decent size for the small business world, and you are able to survive that quote unquote storm, I think you're going to have some pretty decent years moving forward. And I think that is because you got, as far as in theory, you got the same pie out there in the fishing world, but I think you're going to see a lot of businesses not survive it. And they got to go somewhere. Right. So obviously, and I think it's just going to be, kind of follow the percentage base, but I just think that, whomever out there survived it, I think on the back end can have some fairly fruitful years moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the name of the game right now. Just muscle through it. Crazy. There was another topic that you had mentioned that I thought was really interesting. You mentioned that you were tired of hearing people tell young kids not to follow their dreams. I'm interested in what you mean by that.
Well, so one of the things that I think is actually kind of wrong with how at least the U.S. is structured per se is the fact that an 18-year-old can't go get a $10,000 business loan, but he can sign up for $100,000 to $200,000 of student loan debt.
Yeah.
And I even have I actually started another business too where I'm doing remodeling and stuff like that. Some of it's just because I kind of have ADHD and I like splitting my time amongst different things versus staring at the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
But, it's just, I find that weird. And the fun fact is, everybody got pushed into, getting degrees and that was the only answer and you had to.
Yep.
And, trade jobs were pointless. And then now look, all the money's on the trades.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
You got nobody doing it. And, and that knowledge is starting to be lost as far as, a lot of people having it.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the specifics on why I left that comment in there, as far as, please stop telling younger kids to not follow their dreams. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going through a couple forums and there was this young kid and, I think he was probably about 15 or 16.
Mm-hmm.
And wanted to get into the fishing tackle industry. And he was probably asking some questions that, you could tell like, hey, he's like probably just literally thought about this, like, hey, what can I charge for a jig? Well, that's a pretty random, like there's a wide range of costs and you got to figure out.
You got to find out how much is it worth. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What's it cost you to make?
Yeah. But, but obviously, some quick low level questions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of anybody kind of just lending a hand out there, or just saying like, hey, man, maybe you should try it. Everybody was extremely negative.
Yeah.
And telling them, don't do it. It's not worth your time. Like you're better off going to work for, freaking Dollar General or all these things. Like I said, just being extremely negative.
Yeah.
And, I hate saying it, but, I was that kid.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do, well enough. I didn't put any crazy investment into it as far as dollars up front, and I'm doing pretty well in the space and starting to do better as well. And I think the miss when people have those conversations is just because maybe you failed at it doesn't mean everybody will.
That's a good point.
I mean, heck, you probably see that in podcasting, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, oh, there's no way to do any business with it.
Exactly. You see it all the time. Yeah.
And stuff. And, like sometimes and I hope for that younger generation, or even if it is somebody older kind of looking into it. I mean, I'm always follow the line like, hey, younger you are, the more risk you're able to take and potentially withstand,
Oh, yeah.
Compared to getting older and older. But hey, even if you're looking at it starting older, is you got to kind of weather the storm and try to find valuable feedback.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was just I saw across multiple forums, same scenario, just different kid, different names.
Yep.
And like not even saying like, hey man, like we just want you to know it's risky.
Yeah.
It's like, no, man, you're an idiot for even wanting to do it. And, and I think that's a slippery slope. I think if you're just telling the whole younger generation to, hey, just jump into any sort of job you can, stay there for 40 years or whatever, and get out and, probably don't love your job, stuff like that. I just think that's dangerous for society, and I know that's always been there to an extent, but I just feel like it's kind of getting heightened, which is weird because now we're in a phase where you see more and more people doing well in the small business space. But yeah, it was really it was weird to see how much negativity was in response to just some 16-year-old that says, hey,
asking a question.
I love fishing. Yeah. I want to pursue trying to figure out, can I be industrious in this space?
Yeah.
And even on top of that, something I've kind of talked with even like friends and stuff like that about is like, I think even if you try a business and fail, I think you will learn so much valuable information, whether it's in, spending habits, whether it's in, investment strategies outside of it, or just even learning the nuances of like, hey man, running your own business is hard. Maybe I appreciate that more comfortable 40-hour a week job.
Exactly.
Than you would have previously.
Yeah.
You've
got the perspective.
Hey, I understand their hassle.
Yes.
And I've had friends do that. They said, hey, I got a little bit of money saved up. They went out, did it, tried to do something for a year, kind of flopped, but hey, they got to check the box off of regret. How many times do you talk to the older guy or older lady or whatever, like, oh, I wish I did this, or, oh man, it's one of my regrets is I never tried pursuing this business idea or whatever.
Well, exactly. And you make a great point, like about like when you said probably hate their job. How many times do we hear that story? Like really just genuinely hear that story. Oh, I sunk all this time into working for this company and then I left and it was nothing. So I do have a question. When you said like that this young kid with all this fire in his belly to get started with this had asked this question, did he ask this question on social media?
This actually was in kind of like an older school forum.
Okay. All right. But it was something that was online.
And
it was.
But I'm sure there's plenty of examples.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. but what I'm thinking is more or less like, so if this was like a message group or something like that of people like in that industry, there is what I've found from being in business for myself is that a lot of the veterans that have been around for a long time. That fall into this one like old school way of doing business, so where it's all about exclusivity, and I've run into this not at all with podcasting actually. For some reason, I think because that's so fresh and new, it's like kind of like the Wild West. But I've in my own business, my entertainment company, I've run into this a lot where it's like, nobody wants to have the same thing that somebody else down the street has. They want to have, full rights to their region or something. Right. They want to eliminate the competition, and that's the only way. And the easiest way to do that is to discourage the young folks who are looking to be upstarts from ever getting into it. So I think like a lot of that is just out of fear, and it's sad. It's like we can't live forever. Like, where is the skill of whatever that industry is? Where's that going to end up if you discourage young people? You could be responsible essentially for screwing up an entire art.
Yeah, and
I mean that's an extreme case, but it's true.
Right. And too, like I even look at it's just like we've been taught just some like weird concepts, period, you know?
Yep.
And I mean, I talk about like even from an investment strategy, you see all these people like where they're like, oh my gosh, I love debt. They're going into real estate. They got billions of dollars, not billions, but millions of dollars of debt or whatever. And they're actually technically doing incredibly well. Based off of rentals, and then you have like a Dave Ramsey method. And that's like, well, back with Dave Ramsey came up with those 10 rules, interest rates on homes were 15%.
It was a different world. Yeah.
It was a totally different world.
That's the
and
thing.
that's the same thing you see across of any space. If you're talking about business, talking about whatever, right now we're going through the quote unquote great resignation, right? And you're starting to see people value personal freedom / work-life balance a lot more than just income.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this whole thing is way more work-life balance based than it is income based.
I agree. Yeah, I think there's definitely been a big change there.
Yeah. And, so once again, like the world's constantly changing, right? I mean, I always think about the people that said, hey, the cell phone will never take off.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I haven't seen anybody not have one in their pocket or staring at it, even in a movie theater. What I kind of tell friends now is, is like anything that is a potential investment idea or new investment or new thing to look into, research it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth just researching to figure it out. It doesn't say you have to invest in it.
Yeah.
But do your own research versus the traditional like, it's dumb. Well, everything new can't be dumb.
Yeah.
We've proven that over time, so, I hope more and more young kids, they don't even have to be kids, young adults, whatever.
Yeah.
I want them to know that, hey, it's okay. If they got a passion, they don't feel like they formed to maybe the necessarily like going to college route and all that stuff. I mean, you got to evaluate it case to case basis.
It's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah. And, but if you want to try your own business, I think you should.
Yeah.
And once again, hey, if you try it for 2 years, you flop, but you're at age 20, hey, guess what? You got time to figure it out.
Yeah, bouncing back from that is much better than doing it at 45 or 50. You know?
Yeah. Like I said, like the advice I give would be slightly different at, the older you get.
Yeah.
Because obviously typically you're starting to try to protect your nest more versus grow it come a certain age. But yeah, like I said, it's just the negativity around, like I said, in the fishing industry, or in like, for example, I have one friend who's in the graphic design / like web design space.
Yeah.
And she made the logo for Jig Masters.
All right.
Good friend of mine, super awesome, very talented. And she's working at a firm, and she's been there for like 7-8 years, and she's basically making roughly about $25 an hour, and has had a $1 raise over 7 years. I was like, okay, you're actually losing money to inflation every year.
Yeah.
Like, so you're basically, in theory, if you started back, you're basically making $16-17.
Yep.
And, I said, why in the world would you not try to freelance? Once again, situation is, hey, there's no kids, there's no, the risk factor is relatively low.
Yeah.
And, she's my age too. So 27, 28. So,
yep.
And I told her, and she's like, well, like, yeah, like I understand, like I could make a lot more freelancing. And I said, what do you think the rate is for freelancing for what you do? Just average. And she's like, I don't know. And you quick Google, and it's like, I think it was like 150 or 175 bucks an hour. And she's at 25. And I said, okay, well, I said, hey, you want to be a nice person and charge a little less? Fine. $100 an hour. And, and she's like, yeah, but like, I don't know if I could be busy for 40 hours a week. I said, why would you need to?
Yeah.
Do the math. You only got to be busy 10 to keep your same lifestyle.
That's exactly it. That's exactly any more than 10. And she's improving on her situation that much more. Right. And then, And the thing is you do it the right way, like, especially at that age, you would want to start a side hustle where you're freelancing. Obviously you don't want to break any kind of contracts or anything you might have with a company. Right. You got to look into that, but you freelance a little bit. Then, you pick up some side gigs and you start working that out. And then when you eventually get to a point where you're just like, it's time. Like, when it's time to leave one and go to the other. And it's like, that's exactly how I handled getting out of television. 20 years I invested at working in television, and I was like, I absolutely needed to start working side gigs, and so I could work 7 days a week just to pay the bills. And then I added one element to my business, and it grew so much that it got to the point where I was like, now this job that I go to 40 hours a week has become a nuisance because it's limiting me from being able to grow any further. And that's when I knew it was time to let go. Yeah.
And like with her, I told her, I was like, heck, I'd keep you busy 10 hours a week.
Yeah. 10 hours.
I'm starting to, yeah. And, I just told her, I was like, and two, like, I do think there's part of her, like, that fears, like, kind of charging that much. Like,
yeah.
There's a little bit of the moral complex, like, oh my gosh, that's so much money.
Yeah.
And it's like, I said, it's not a zero-sum game, though.
No.
I said, like, literally look at Jigmaster specifically. I said, what you did for the logo and for the web design and a little bit of time you put in just teaching me some of it, but for the most part, most of that's on her. And I said, what you did in 2 weeks would have taken me 6 months.
Yeah.
I said, okay, so I give you a couple grand. I said, guess what? A couple grand over 6 months saving me time.
It's like nothing.
Yeah, I'll take that every day.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's not a zero-sum game. You got your adequate rate, but you saved me a bunch of time. We both won. The sum is 2. It's not 0.
Yeah.
It's not a winner and a loser. And I like I said, but also too, and I like, because I think her issue right now of why she necessarily doesn't like, she just feels like very unsatisfied and like has started dreading going to the office, stuff like that.
That's the worst feeling.
It's not her it's not her field, it's the content I think she's being forced to do.
Yeah.
Because she's passionate in certain areas and where she's working for is definitely not that. I said, the only way to fix that is to be able to filter the content yourself, as far as what jobs. And I told her, I said, also, if you're getting paid, quote unquote, adequately, you're probably going to not be as picky emotionally with the jobs you take, knowing that, hey, I'm making what I should make. So, yeah, I think that feels a little bit easier one to freelancer, start your own business and stuff like that. Yep. At least I personally think so compared to some. But once again, like I guess I'm struggling to see why so many young people are scared to do it. And I've had talks with several friends and stuff like that, and they're like, well, why are you why do you care so much? It's like, well, I care because I come and hang out with you guys, and everybody's looking like a sad, beaten puppy.
Exactly.
And I was like, so this would be an investment into my friends. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Which then helps your quality of life, Yeah. They're not miserable.
Not zero sum. You know, hey, if I help, long as I'm not like financially ruining myself or emotionally ruining myself trying to help them, and I make their life 1% better, hey, that's a win. So, and heck, like even like these weird situations too. Like I was at Home Depot.
Yep.
And this kid started. I was getting like some like black iron pipe cut or something like that. And this there was a girl that was working the machine there cutting because I had some custom length stuff I needed done.
Yep.
And then there's like another kid there helping or whatever. And he starts talking to me kind of about like a side hustle he started because he saw like the logo on the shirt. And he's like, oh, what's that? And I just started telling him about Jig Masters and stuff. And he's actually trying to start an apparel brand. And so we just started mapping it out. And he says, like, what's the number one advice that you would give to somebody, starting this?
Yep.
I said one, and I said, even as good as I traditionally am with numbers, sometimes you get clouded just by doing, other tasks.
Yeah.
Because number one's know your numbers. I'm like,
yes.
And he's like, yeah, I kind of found that out. He's like, I did 50 shirts and I figured out that I was basically making 12 cents an hour. And I said, yeah. I said, so before, because he was like talking about trying to scale. And I said, okay, if your process only allows you to make 12 cents an hour, why would you scale?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, or even like some cases, like when I first started Jig Masters, if I had tried to wholesale, like at that point when I was just buying 25 hooks at a time from Jan's Netcraft, it cost me $250 to make a jig, and my wholesale price would have been $240 based off of my sale price.
Exactly.
So
know your numbers.
People were trying to get me to go in stores. Then I'm like, well, okay, like a loss times large volume equals large loss. Like,
exactly.
And it's actually compounded.
Yep.
Because not only do you have that financial loss, but you have the time loss that would have allowed you to fix some of those issues. So me and him were talking about that, and then but the young girl that was helping cut and thread the pipe, she kind of just had this like depressed look on her face. And I said, okay, what's your stick?
Exactly. We're sharing here. What's going on?
And she says, my parents forced me into, I think it was teaching. Don't quote me off of the major choice, but I think it was teaching. And then I think she got like 2.5 years in and just didn't love it. And then went into a different field that her parents once again forced her into. And she doesn't love that either. And I said, well, what do you really want? And then hers was like interior, like decorator, basically.
Yeah. Interior design.
And I was like, and I said, well, last time I checked, you don't need a degree for that anyways. What's preventing you from starting a little, side hustle just to see how it goes? I said, you're kind of pot committed where she was at with her degree. I think she only had like a semester left or something. I said, so finish that, get the piece of paper. But
sure.
I said, but like, once again, you don't need a degree to be an interior decorator. Yeah. Like, try it out, see if you like it. And she's like, yeah. And she's talking about like, I think she's going to be roughly like $115,000 of student loan debt. And just by going through the, starting the one major, backing out, basically starting fresh with another one. Most of the classes didn't transfer, so on and so forth, whatever, and stuff. And she was talking about, she's like, yeah, but she's like, I don't know. Like I told my parents and like, they're just not supportive. And I said, okay, stop. I says, I get it. You love your parents. I said, are they paying for your college? The answer was no. And I said, that's where the conversation stops.
Yep.
I said, because what has happened. And I said, I understand that on paper, your parents were probably trying to what they thought was looking out for you.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody is out there. It's just it's a mindset shift kind of thing.
Yep. You genuinely think you're doing the right thing.
Right. And I said, but here's the skinny of what the situation is now.
Yep.
Your parents have indirectly said, which you have skin in the game.
Allowed them
Your
to,
skin in the game now is student debt. But I said, basically you got forced into a corner into $115,000 of debt. And you're going to get a degree on something that you don't even want to do.
Yep.
I said, younger kids got to start sticking up for themselves.
Yeah.
And once again, like, it doesn't mean the parents were evil in this situation. Like, like you said, like they probably thought they were doing what was best for her, kind of on theoretical paper per se.
Yep.
And the one other thing too that I've learned in this whole process is, like, when you hear, well, you should get a degree because this, and it's just a real, like, low-hanging, very vague answer, right?
Yeah, you'll
very
make
generic.
more money if you have a degree.
Yeah.
You'll make more money. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And the thing that kind of sucks that you find out as you're growing up is, like, these are just all blanket statements and nobody's done the research.
Yeah.
Now, there are cases, yes, a degree helps you out tremendously in a certain field.
Yep.
Like, you're not going into nursing without a degree.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I understand, like, yes, they have their place. But yeah, like I said, like, most of the time,
you got to look at what you want to do. That's the thing. And when you're, 17 years old, 18 years old, that's a lot to put on a kid. My oldest daughter is 17. She starts college in the fall, and she was getting so much pressure from her advisors at school about, oh, this is a beautiful campus and you should really think about going here. I think you'd do really well with such and such. And she has no idea what she wants to do. So we just told her, we're like, just go into local community college for 2 years.
Yeah.
As a liberal arts major, go and do. I said, and trust me, and she's got friends that graduated before her that left their larger schools because they're just like, yeah, I wasn't handling it well, so I'm going to come back and I'm going to do this. And she's kind of realizing, I think, some of the value there. I mean, like, I got to make sure she never hears this, because otherwise it's like, it means, I gave her sound advice.
Right.
Man. But it's like, it's a lot when you're that age to make that decision, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do forever. I mean, I made that decision. I decided I want to work in broadcasting, and then I sunk 20 years into it, and it got me nothing. It got me absolutely nothing. So it's like, you just gotta, it's a lot to put on a kid. It's a fine line to walk, though, for parents, because on the one hand, you don't want to encourage, like, take a couple years off, because it's so easy to not go back to school.
I would say that is the worst way to phrase it.
Yeah. I think it's a fear.
That's the scary part, is when you phrase it, take a couple years off.
Exactly. They think it's like a vacation.
I think of me as a nice 17-year-old kid.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, oh, sweet, I don't have to worry about what I want to do. I'm just going to go work at, whether it's a restaurant, whatever, as a busboy, just to pay my bar tab every week. So, yeah, I'm not for taking off.
Like, nobody wants to say that.
Correct. Hey, if you're not going for a college degree just because you're not 100% sure what you want to do, or you think your passions fall in line with maybe something that doesn't need a degree.
Yeah.
In that time, you should be putting in a lot of work to figure it out.
Yep.
It's I just think that the younger generations more and more and more really need to take the reins on their own life at a younger age than historically. And obviously that's easier said than done. But once again, like, just how absurd some of these college debt numbers are getting.
It's crazy.
I got a friend had $237,000 of student loan debt, and it was for literally, that was only accumulated just from her bachelor's degree to doctorate. The first 4 years.
That's not even counting her undergrad. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just grad. And then the even sadder part is, too, on top of it, is, oh, hey, we understand that you want to, in theory, once again, better yourself even more getting a doctorate, that we're going to give you federal student loans at a higher interest rate. They're higher at a graduate level than, or postgrad, whatever, than undergrad. So now she's kind of like double compounded,
Oh yeah.
and it was all to make roughly, I think, about $18,000 more a year.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, for me, outside looking in, I said, I would argue the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
But everybody's got to figure that out on their own too.
That's the thing, and I mean, if your passion is to have that career at that level that requires that, I mean, by all means, this is, I don't think what you're making is a statement on individuals' passions necessarily. It's like, but just everybody's got some kind of a calling, you know what I mean? Something that they want to be doing. I used to tell interns when I worked in television, I'd be showing them something and they would say, they're like, what's it like working in television? I was like, this is the kind of job that you like. It's like if you rolled out of bed, you would just naturally go do this. I'm like, because it's really not something that it's not the career you think it is. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a lifestyle of poverty.
Okay.
That's kind of what it is. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think that and I just look at my generation specifically. So I'm 28. We're kind of this weird in between kind of generation where it's like kind of hard to seek advice.
Yeah, because
just like markets are like still, there's a bunch of similar trends. But like just the world and markets seem to be considerably more volatile now.
Yeah.
Than maybe they historically were. I mean, like just for giggles, you look at like the S&P 500, right? From freaking, 1950 to 1995, they had like a 4% turnover rate for companies that are, in the top 500.
It was
well,
very
from
stable.
2000 to now, it's like over 80%.
Yeah.
Like the world is just, I think we're kind of at that exponential uptick in technology that things are just changing so fast.
Where are you when it comes to stuff like NFTs? What's your thought there?
Yeah. So I think in a perfect world, I'll first start the conversation on cryptocurrency as a whole. I think in a perfect world, it's a great thing. I think eventually it'll probably be tamed down and not as quote unquote beautiful as it could have been.
Yeah.
Like in theory, the main thing was supposed to be a 24/7 global market.
Yep.
That was kind of like
public, right?
Yes. And yep. And that could have been, I think, for the the world and stuff. I think that could have potentially been a really great thing. I don't think it will ever get to there. I think eventually we'll just be beaten with too many regulations, and I do think there needs to be some. But I think typically it's the proverbial, hey, you give them an inch, they take a yard.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
I think the long-term play with cryptocurrencies is more than likely just going to be looked at as stocks in a specific field.
Yep.
That's kind of where I see it going. I'm more hopeful for the beautiful world economy, but we'll see. Now, NFTs, once again, a lot of the low-hanging fruit discussions you have with somebody say, oh, they're stupid. Well, they're so stupid that there's some people making millions of dollars off of it. Yeah. So it can't be that dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I think the JPEG versions, like kind of the original NFTs, I think those will be phased out probably rather quickly.
Yeah.
But I think where you're going to actually see it very large is one will kind of almost be like, if the whole fun metaverse thing comes to fruition, is almost like skins, like in a Call of Duty game or something, right?
Gotcha.
I think a lot of stuff will go there, or a lot of the stuff will be like even just freaking like artwork for your home in the metaverse, stuff like that, whatever. But I think as far as back into a physical world application, I think NFTs are really just going to be big in the documentation field.
Yeah.
Or anytime you buy a sports ticket or something like that, it's going to be an NFT. Something that can't get, because the nice thing is like with the smart NFTs is you go to screenshot it and actually the image just never shows up.
Yep.
Or you go take a photo of it, now the image never shows up.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to help. I think it's going to help for the fact that you can kind of, from my understanding, as far as like look at like that whole Adele concert situation. Like I think that will eventually get solved by NFTs to where you can track to what wallet's going to be. So they like the only way like a place like freaking Ticket Hub or whatever can go in there and buy everything.
Yep.
Is going to be they have to do a lot more work on their end to have a 10,000 different freaking crypto wallets and stuff like that to be able to purchase it versus them just being able to like, I want 10,000 tickets at $25 and buy them up.
Exactly.
And stuff. I think NFTs actually solve down the road. I think they can solve a lot of issues in a more boring way than you're seeing them being used now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's that the thing that gets me is that whole comparison to a certificate of authenticity. So like for ticketing, I think that's amazing. Something like that right there, because what you do is you eliminate the potential of counterfeiting. My wife and I, we went to go see Louis C.K. just recently. And I didn't know this, but my wife had got front row tickets. Like, this is amazing. So we're front row center watching this show, and 3 times we had an usher come down and need to check our tickets because there was something like super scammy about the way that, she didn't receive the tickets until the day of. And initially she got a message saying that we had to meet the seller at a, like, it was just bizarre. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know.
Didn't feel kosher.
Yeah. I was like, that's kind of odd. I was like, where did you order these? Craigslist? Like, what's wrong with you?
Right, yeah.
And what ended up happening was I told her, I was like, I'll bet you that, I said, do you have the physical stubs or the digital ones? Because I'll bet you he got the both somehow. Or, was able to counterfeit them or whatever. And right. That's the thing that I could definitely see for ticketing. That could be huge.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people talk about with NFTs, like potentially changing the way artists get paid for their music.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that some innovation there as well.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. It's just one of those things. Today was the first day I kind of fell into that wormhole looking into it, and I was like, what? I don't even understand what these things are. I'm an old man. I don't even understand these things. And I looked into it, and I was like, okay, so the connection with cryptocurrency, okay, that all makes sense. And, I never got into any of the crypto stuff or anything. I've got some friends that have. But, it was just something I was just kind of like, I don't know, is this a flash in the pan, or is this something that's going to stick around that could be like the new sort of innovation? So you always want to find that point where like something can prove itself before you make any type of an investment into it. But you hate to be too late in the game where you're losing out.
I can't necessarily speak on crypto as a whole itself. I personally believe, as far as the NFTs go, where people are like, the train's already the fear is like the train's already left the station.
Yep. I heard that in a video just today.
Yeah, I personally actually think, and probably honestly with the crypto too, but I think the train's still just sitting there.
Yeah.
I think we're actually a lot earlier than we actually think we are.
Yeah.
Now, in any investment, anything, I tell everybody to do your research, and because not everybody's going to invest the same way. You need to determine your own. It's the proverbial gambling thing.
Exactly.
Don't ever gamble more money than you're willing to lose.
Yep.
But I think another reason, where I kind of like pursuing my own business as well, is I feel way more in control of my destiny than I ever did with an employer.
Yep.
And kind of what I tell people, and this is the part that really sucks. And I saw it a lot where I worked. I've seen it a lot where my girlfriend works. I've seen it a lot is if you're a really, really good employee,
Yep.
you're almost doomed.
Yeah.
Because, and it sucks to say that because, from a moral aspect, you're always taught, you want to give it your
do the best you
want
can.
to work hard.
Yeah.
And in theory, you should. The issue is because if you become too valuable in a role, a lot of times you're going to get blocked.
Yep.
From potential promotion stuff, and I hate that that's a thing. I've seen it too many times, and I've heard about it too many times and stuff. And so then you find out oh well, the only way to get ahead is to kind of be 60% good at your job,
just good enough,
not get fired.
Yeah, exactly.
Just good enough and be likable. And you'll climb up the ladder a lot faster than just being really good as far as getting stuff done.
Yep.
Once again, that's another reason why I kind of like doing my own thing. Mm-hmm. It's a space where I feel that if I have good decision making and I put good quality effort into it,
yep,
I actually get rewarded.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
I can kind of control that.
Yep.
Too, and I'm not. I used to be different, where I believed everybody had to be passionate about their job, career, business they're starting, whatever.
Sure.
And I don't actually hold that anymore. What I think everybody owes themselves is they need to find a job, career, own business, whatever, simply that they don't hate.
That's exactly it.
And that doesn't prevent them from doing the stuff they love.
That's exactly it. If you can facilitate your passions in life, that might not necessarily be an income.
Right.
Where when it starts there, it's almost like a displacement of value, what we invest in our lives, the things that we're passionate about that, aren't nobody's paying for that time or anything like that. We do these things because we love them, whatever they might be. We almost don't value that nearly enough as we should. Instead we're just I feel guilty going and doing. You see this all the time. I took an extra day off or something like that, or they feel guilty about enjoying something or it's nuts. It's almost like when you come back from a vacation and you're I need a vacation from the vacation.
Yeah, right.
That's all in your head. If you didn't feel like you had to rush that enjoyment, to get back to the job that basically puts a cap on your passions,
yes.
Then you just if you value what you're passionate about, I think that's the biggest payoff, and just in life,
and
if you can pay your bills
I think
and be happy, come on.
Yeah, and I kind of think that, and this bug has hit me a little bit more lately than even when I started Jig Masters, but I honestly think I'm kind of going to be that weird guy who is either owned or is a part owner of 7 to 8 different businesses.
Yeah,
and
they're pretty common.
Doing it. Still finds times for his couple hobbies that he's passionate about.
Oh yeah,
fishing, golf, hanging out with friends, and good conversation.
Sure.
But yeah, I kind of think I'm almost more addicted to just business period than I am business, and trying to help people just get out of my day is doom and gloom every day.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll literally watch that stuff age you incredibly.
Oh yeah.
And the thing when I try to get people to understand is okay, if you absolutely hate your job, I said you will, and I feel actually very confident saying you will start to just hate your life.
Yeah.
Because you spend a lot of time at your job.
Yeah.
And most jobs, I don't know many people that if they're in a position that they hate, that they can just flip that switch to off when they leave.
Nope.
So
It
now
carries
they're
a weight with you.
negative, they need freaking 3 to 4 hours afterwards just to unplug and get to some form of calmer state. Well, guess what? By then it's time to go to bed.
Yep.
So, so you're just in this constant loop. So guess what? You're not going to be as fun to be around with your friends.
Yeah.
So you're going to start seeing them a little less and less. And if you're working a lot of overtime or like a salary role, you're getting your dick kicked in for 80 hours.
Exactly.
Like all of a sudden, like, hey, you're not fishing, you're not golfing, you're not, or whatever you love.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden you can't make the time.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you're the grumpy 95-year-old guy that just doesn't get to do anything he wants to do, and now it's kind of quote unquote too late, right? And one of the things I hate too, and once again, I've had a humongous mind shift from when I was 20, 21, whatever,
sure,
compared to now. The other thing that sucks is what you kind of come to realize, and you're starting to see this like more and more, and I don't necessarily know why, and it's actually kind of got me scared, but more and more you hear of stories of, like, I've just had 2 recently where like somebody has busted their ass their whole life.
Yeah.
At a job, and then like even on top of that, they were doing like remodeling on the side for even additional income or handyman stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
Could be anything, mowing yards, whatever, and stuff. And then and they kind of keep scraping by, and then they finally get to that magical age of theoretical retirement.
Oh,
and what I've seen recently, and more than I'd like to see. So one guy I know, he's 2 weeks away from retirement. Super excited. He's like, oh my gosh, I can finally freaking take a break. Because the dude, he worked 19 twos in maintenance, and then threw in a extra freaking 30 to 40 hours a week doing remodeling and roofing and all that kind of stuff. He's got some miles on him for sure.
Yeah.
He gets 2 weeks away from retirement and gets diagnosed with severe MS. And that was an eye opener.
Yeah.
And then similar story, but then had severe COVID and almost didn't make it.
Yeah.
Doing a little bit better now, but has a lot of long-term kind of respiratory issues they're foreseeing. And, you kind of realize like you're not guaranteed that next day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's,
and it's one of those things, like I tell people, I was like, yes, you should likely do some form of, retirement investment.
Yeah.
But like also you want to make sure that you have some investment with liquidity too.
Yeah.
Just because once again, you're not guaranteed to make it to 65 or to be in a shape where you're going like I know it too all the time. How many times do you see people that get to 65, they retire and all they do is watch TV for the next 20, 30 years of their life because their body's not in some form of shape to be able to do much else.
Yeah.
Or like their body just hurts enough to where they don't enjoy doing what they used to do, what they thought they would be doing all of retirement, whether it's, fishing, golfing, working on cars, whatever
it might be. Yeah.
I think people need to, I shouldn't say need, but, owe it to themselves to try to get as much of their life in their own control as possible.
Yeah.
And that's from a financial aspect, just, how happy, calm, sad, whatever, from an emotional side.
Yeah.
And from a health side too, I think nobody's ever going to have better interest for you than you.
It's true.
That's your boss is not going to take better care of you than you yourself would. That's just, it's life. They got themselves to look after. So, I think that, and I hope that more and more, like I said, I like to say just younger kids, just because and too, this shit takes energy, and if you're not full of energy getting into some of these things, and having the ability to roll with some punches in the beginning and stuff like that, you're probably not going to survive in any form of, self-employed fashion too long.
Yeah. It's not for everybody,
Yep.
That's the thing.
Yeah, no matter what you do. And I just think naturally when you're younger, maybe you have a little bit more enthusiasm than some other times, But yeah, like I said, I think everybody kind of owes it to themselves to take control as much as they can.
Yeah.
Legally, take control of their own lives,
Yep. No, I agree, man. I absolutely agree. And it's like it's amazing when like I've got like I said, I've got kids that are, my oldest is about to go into college. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. Getting older is crazy. I didn't realize I was that much older than you, man. I was like, oh, wait until you see. Yeah, like when you mentioned you've had a mind shift in things recently, like that's just age. It happens over and over again. It really does. It never.
What I always tell people is I'm 28 going on 80.
Yeah.
I will say for most people my age, I'm a little bit more of an older soul. I've become pretty oddly calm.
Yeah.
Which I think might even freak some people out, but also too, I've had a fairly ugly medical past too, and that's kind of when I see those cases, like I said, the guy about to retire and all of a sudden he gets severe MS and stuff like that. It's big eye openers like, hey, I've basically been there already and I'm 28. You mean I got to ride this ride for another 37 more years to 65?
Yeah. You might as well enjoy every ounce of it that you can along the way.
So, and like I said, if you can find something and be industrious and something you're passionate about, that is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I'm happy for you. You're probably going to do pretty well in the space.
Yeah.
If you find something that you are okay with doing that allows you to do your passions, that's a great consolation prize.
Yeah.
That's a great second place ribbon for sure. Like I said, I do think that if you hate a job, there's so much work out there. It's ridiculous. Oh, yeah. And I think you owe it to yourself to realize like, hey, you can do other things.
It's funny. There's this other element that just dawned on me is the folks that have their passion, something they really like. And I'll use fishing as an example. Somebody that's, really passionate about fishing. They get out and fish every time that they can. They're on the water nonstop and they're trying to, they're learning every possible thing that they can. And you have some, and I've seen this before where they'll say, oh, hey, you should, look into doing something. You should do tournaments maybe, or maybe you could go and do this or maybe you should start a YouTube channel or start, whatever it is, an apparel company or make baits, something that you can do that way. Wouldn't it be amazing to make your living off of that? And then you hear those people that are like, I need to keep that separate. Like this needs to be my escape and my catharsis in a way, like of dealing with career and all that other stuff. So it's like I think like when you say like that's a good consolation prize for not making it, like if that's how it works for you, then you've won.
Yeah, there's it's the proverbial, don't make your hobby your job.
Yeah.
And
sometimes that's a good thing for some people.
Sometimes it's good for people, but I don't think it's an absolute rule, obviously.
Yeah.
And then two, like just again, like you're naming like all the kind of the potential different avenues as far as, making money in the fishing space, like I even look at like I had a talk before I started. It was actually with the owner of Netcraft. I love the guy to death. He's been essentially a father to me. He's been around a long time in my life. And he told me, he's like, don't do it. He's one of those guys that's just said, he was on that negative side. He's like, don't do it. Hate it. I don't. He's like, he's like everybody that told me like owning this business was going to be great. Like, I've lost the love for fishing anymore. He's like, it's the last thing I want to do is talk fishing. But the one thing that I did tell him, and I said, there's one difference that I potentially foresee in what I'm doing versus what you're doing is I'm designing and making my own baits where you're buying and reselling.
Yeah.
You're just getting to your only utility out of it is strictly numbers.
Yep.
Where mine is, hey, every once in a while I get somebody from freaking, the state of Oregon or California or
Yeah.
Florida or Texas or Wisconsin or, all these areas of like showing photos with, big fish with my jig in their
With
mouth.
the jig that you created,
right.
it's a
so
different sort of reward. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, like, yes, the numbers are important for sure,
Yeah.
but there is a little added avenue of where I get, something back from it.
No, it makes sense, man.
Yeah.
No, it absolutely makes sense. I do want to touch on and I think you may have actually graced over this a little bit, but the last note you put about your personal business philosophy changes from the very start of when you started Jig Masters until coming up on the 5th year.
Yeah, when I first jumped in, all I saw, which we've had this conversation before, but I'll kind of just start from where I started, was, all I saw was the whole, pro staff stuff and like almost like a constant battleground over there too of, what's the right method of, like, everybody had kind of solely agreed that, hey, the pro staff system is the only system that works. It's just now, do we do more of the, like, we just let everybody be in a pro staff, or do we try to cycle through and get, quality versus quantity?
Yeah.
And there's all these different things. And then you constantly see like some battles between people leaving pro staff because the owner was quote unquote unfair, or, vice versa. Like, hey, this pro staff guy's asking for way too much and he's not bringing me anything back.
Exactly.
All these things. And I kind of, when I originally started, I jumped right into pro staff stuff and didn't do well for me. It was, and for my experience, it was kind of the proverbial, gimme, which as a small business, kind of tough.
Exactly.
If you look at it from an investment or, a business strategy, traditionally doesn't come with the caveat of giving all my stuff away for free.
No, exactly.
The numbers don't add up well pretty quickly.
Oh.
And then I kind of changed that tune and started phasing that out some. And then me personally, I tried I basically tried doing like a royalty setup. One of them is actually working out pretty well and I'm going to maintain. The other ones didn't quite do it. So now I'm just giving money away for baits that they're not really helping sell.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, I run that by. So, finally, mustered up the courage to say, hey, I got to tap out, got to be objective with myself. It's not working. Okay, so got that done, right? Then I had a little idea too of basically instead of like a true like the current kind of pro staff system models, right, hey, you help promote, I give you a discount.
Exactly.
It's actually, hey, I'll still give you a discount. And actually I was giving more probably than most do, but then even on top of that is, hey, I want you to make money in this too, and basically setting up like a sales commission strategy.
Yeah.
And then that didn't pan out either. So
it's so challenging, man. It really is.
And the thing is I thought that, hey, you have a direct correlation kind of between how much effort or sales you push to how much money you get, I thought would work. And it wasn't the case. And then kind of what where I'm at now is, and pardon my French for this, but is, work with whoever the fuck you want.
Yeah. No, you
Good fucking business.
Yeah.
And I look at people like Andrew Hayes.
Yep.
He's done a lot for Jig Masters.
Yeah.
There's a little sneak peek. We got a little something coming up for some people out there.
Yep.
But me and him have talked a long time, stuff like that. And, he's done a lot for the business. Hey, guess what? I'm going to spend more of my time, instead of trying to find more of him.
Yeah.
I'm going to spend my time just
investing in him
and working with him, or investing in him. Right.
Exactly.
For sure. And there's a couple other people, Glenn Mongold.
Yep.
He randomly reached out to me. He found my lures at a store. He used to work through a distributor, so had some decent contacts for other shops.
Yep.
And, where I've worked with like 10 people that have sold, a total of, and I'm exaggerating a little for effect, have sold 7 jigs and a couple of T-shirts.
Yeah.
Within I told him, we kind of came up and we agreed on a deal. And I said, he's like, he said, are you ready for me to go? And I said, do it. And all of a sudden he added 8 stores for me, like stores, so those are larger orders.
These are retail orders. Yeah.
Yeah. And, he added 8 stores for me, within 9 days. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to invest a little more time in that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Than I am with trying to get everybody else to be like him.
Yeah.
You kind of start learning some of these things. Like some people they are who they are, or some people they like the idea of being on a pro staff.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't like the effort of actually trying to be part of a team and actually help grow everything together.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the end of the day, I have to be objective with myself.
Yep.
This isn't everybody's dream. Jig Masters was kind of my baby. Even if they're making a little commission off stuff like that, it's still not quote unquote theirs.
Yeah, they don't carry the same level of passion, obviously.
Right. Right. And
for
that's
sure.
fine.
Yeah.
And what I've kind of learned is to maybe stop trying to, I shouldn't even say force it, but stop relying on trying to make them have a similar passion. And kind of just taking some of the people along for the ride that are already helping you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and then too, even from a total business kind of viewpoint, I was using Jig Masters as my income.
Yeah.
Now I look at it, and especially with doing some of the remodeling stuff like that, I look at Jig Masters at almost more of an investment.
Yeah.
So kind of how I look at it, I'm actually probably, or potentially, depending on how numbers work out, stuff like that, I'm probably going to be bringing on a potential owner or 2.
Oh, really? Okay.
Starting to kind of divvy up stuff and stuff that were a little bit more skilled in the avenues that I'm not, right?
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing is, outsource the stuff you're not good at and keep what you like doing or what you're good at.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
But actually to where there's kind of, once again, a little bit more skin in the game, bring them on as actual part owners.
Yeah.
But all of us aren't necessarily looking at it as a weekly income thing. We'll do a little bit of a profit share at the end of the year.
Yeah.
We'll designate, hey, we want to keep this percentage in the business as cash flow. Whether it's for just inventory upcoming or whether it's for, future investments, mold investments, whatever, equipment.
Sure.
And then, basically the other, let's say 50%, and the numbers aren't perfectly worked out yet, but, hey, we just divvy the pot at the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
But starting to make it to where it's not completely reliant on myself.
Yep.
Because the other cool thing is I almost look at Jig Masters 2 as an investment of, I have 0 business debt. At some point in life, whenever that is, I can sell it and then make whatever, basically, whatever you get and hopefully close to whatever the business evaluates at.
Yeah, exactly.
To where, like I said, it's turning more to and I think it'll actually be better for how smooth the business runs as an investment compared to just direct income all the time.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, man. I think you'll see more measurable growth, that way, and that's huge. Yep. That's awesome. And again, I think that just comes from getting older. Man, this is awesome. I got to tell you, Cody, I gotta wrap things up, man. I got an early morning tomorrow. This was really, really good. We should check in routinely. I think we should have you on every couple, maybe 2 or 3 months, and then we'll check in and see how things are going, because this was a lot of fun. There's a lot of insight, and I think that in an odd kind of way, we've sort of had this ongoing message when it comes to, pro staffs and tournament anglers specifically. We've kind of got this weird sort of crossroads where we find we have tournament anglers from various levels and content creators that focus more on content and things, and there's this weird sort of transition of industry almost where they're meeting kind of, and it's I don't necessarily know that they understand one another. You know what I mean? And I feel like this in some odd way, I think might help that whole situation. You know?
And once again, kind of as a little final message here and stuff like that, as far as like, I know in the beginning, and maybe still now, a lot of the kind of older school tournament anglers were really against content creators, right?
Definitely.
And once again, from my viewpoint, I'm sorry if I see anybody trying to be industrious in something they love, fucking let them.
You got to do it. Yeah.
What I think, once again, everybody I think sees this as a zero-sum game all the time, where it's you got one winner, you got one loser, when sometimes no, there's just multiple people that can benefit.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, and I heard it once, I can't remember the company that said it, is like, I would much prefer, instead of you being a great angler, I would prefer that you're a great salesman in the parking lot. And from a business aspect, as far as me getting orders, and like I talked before too, is like, I can't get paid in your big fish.
That's exactly it.
Or I can't get paid in specifically likes. If you are a content creator, like at the end of the day, it all comes down to dollars and cents.
Yep.
As far as what's working and what's not.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, I hope the world starts becoming a little bit more kind with one of each other.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be kind, just more of a less judgmental.
Sure.
Like I said, just like the guy was complaining about the prices on the one dude's baits.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? You don't have to buy them.
Exactly.
That's the beautiful thing about, you know.
You've got so many choices to pick from.
Yeah. If you think the other company's better and cheaper,
go for it.
Go buy theirs, you know. But yeah, like I said, I between that, I hope everybody gets a little bit kinder. We're in for a bumpy road. The world's becoming a very, very constantly changing, kind of volatile space.
Yep.
Like I said, make life's hard enough. Don't make it harder on anybody.
Yeah. No, I like that, man. Awesome. Well, Cody, this was great, dude. I think what we're gonna have you on the episode that drops on Tuesday. The topic that we're gonna do is we're gonna talk goals and setting goals, and how most everybody thinks immediately like fishing goals and stuff. So we're going to talk something a little bit about that, but we're also going to get into so how do you build your, how do you engage your social content so that you can get the sponsors you're looking for or something like that. So we've got some of these elements that we're going to talk to there. I think this will work really, really well. Well, Cody, this was really awesome. It was good having you on the show, man. It's always good talking to you. Thanks again for being part of our big 100th episode celebration. We'll have info for you on the winner, and obviously we'll have some pictures and stuff of all the winners who win some awesome prizes at the event, so it's going to be really great. We're going to make sure to do this again, man. How's that sound?
It sounds great to me.
Awesome, dude. Take care. Have yourself a good one. And before we go out, if you have, do you have any new stuff coming up that maybe you want to let people know about?
I'm going to rattle them off. We don't have to go in crazy in-depth detail.
Cool.
But we're actually going with it's a fixed hook style, but finesse swim jig. Nice. We got a little secret sauce of a buzz bait coming out with Andrew Hayes.
Okay.
So pretty excited for that. And then I do have my own, finally, after talking about it for 2 years, a jig trailer that's coming out that I'm proud of.
Oh, nice.
As well as a drop shot soft plastic as well.
That's awesome, man. Looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really, really great stuff.
Much appreciated.
Awesome. Take care, Cody. You have a good one, all right?
Yep, you too.
All right, bye-bye. Well, that's about going to do it, guys, for Jigs and Bigs this week. It's been a crazy episode, but we have some good stuff coming for you. We have lots of stuff that we want to go over and discuss. We have lots of adventures lined up, and I'm looking forward to them, 100%. Looking forward to next weekend, getting out on some ice and doing some fishing. And, I love it. Like, the fishing for me, I've always said, even in the interviews, Sean, I'm sure you've picked up on the fact that one of the things that I love about fishing, and I'm going to do my best Hank Hill here, one of the things I love about this sport, and it is a sport, is sitting in a boat for 5 hours and doing absolutely nothing. It's that camaraderie. Just like, this is why I love fishing with other people so much. And I know you do too. I mean, like, when you're out there, you're on a mission, but also like you stay within earshot of that person and it's nonstop joking around and having a good time generally, unless of course you're on the mission, you know what I mean? But that's the whole thing. It's one of the things that I love most about this activity. And I think that's what ice fishing does best.
Oh yeah.
I
do it. I don't take ice fishing. Ice fishing is not the mission. Like today, hey, flag went up. Tell my son, Brody, go get it.
Yeah, exactly. You go handle it. There is ice in Rhode Island. Todd and Becca have been getting out on the ice in Rhode Island. There's a couple of really good videos from them. They had this one video. They had gone out to this one piece of property, and they had fished. And they had, I think, 4.5, 5.5 inches when they were out there. It was pretty good. It was really windy. And they were doing all right. They were catching largemouth. They were catching all kinds of stuff. Big bluegill, too, in this one spot. And they had a run-in with somebody who was going by the lake who basically, I would say a male version of a Karen. Okay. And I believe like they shouted out to Todd and they're like, hey, is it safe out there? And his response was like, it's definitely safe enough to be out here, safe enough. And the guy's like, well, if you guys fall in, I'm going to have to come and get you. And he's just like, what? You're not coming in here to get us. Like, what are you talking about? And the dude ended up calling the property owner, right? Who had come down, and the guy had verified that there was, in fact, safe ice that they were on, and they were fine. And then the cops showed up, because the guy also called the cops. The cop shows up, and he was like, well, yeah, do you have... And the property owner was still there. It's a great video. You should check it out. But one of the things... The reason why I bring this up is this. I say a male version of a Karen. They threw a name out there that I had never heard as a male version of a Karen. They said Bruce.
A Bruce.
Bruce. Now, I had always heard that a male Karen is a Kevin or a Kyle.
I've heard the Kyle.
I like the Kyle personally.
Bruce, huh?
Bruce.
Okay. Learn something new every day. So, without me having seen the video, what was it? Was it private property? Was it?
I don't think it was private property. They weren't trespassing at all. Like they're allowed to fish there. Yeah. No, this was just that. I think it was like, I forget the phrase that was used, but the guy who was like a land trust owner, I think, something like that. Mm-hmm. And basically this Bruce or Kyle or Kevin had kind of like inserted himself into the equation where there was no need, and that's what you end up with, But yeah, the guy gets out on the ice. He walks right out with him, and he's like, yeah, let's take a look. And he's like, there's like 5 inches here. He's like, and you guys aren't going over on the other side where it's thinner anyway, He's like, you're right over here. He's like, you guys are totally safe,
Wow.
Yeah, it's just, it's crazy.
We should have hijacked that for the fuck that guy.
Well, he's on 2 different YouTube videos from popular Northeast anglers. I mean, like, so he's all over the place on 2 channels.
This one guy shows up fucking with people
on 2.
That's his job.
Well, because both Todd and Becca were rolling at that time. So
gotcha.
He's on 2 simultaneous videos.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant that he was also showing up at somebody unrelated's video. This is what he does. He finds YouTubers and fucks with them. Like, look at an asshole.
He's just like, that's his MO. He's the YouTube fuckery jackass.
Thanks a lot, Kyle, you piece of shit.
Kyle, fuck. But yeah, I was like, Bruce, really? Bruce. Okay. I feel like I have the itch for another to put together another poll and figure out what people really think. Like, what do you call a male Karen? A Bruce, a Kyle, a Kevin?
I'll jump in on that. I've only heard Kyle, so I'm going to roll with it. Everything else just seems a little foreign.
Oh, good stuff.
I do. Before we go, Bobby, I do have one last thing that we probably should have mentioned when Nelson was on.
Oh, what's up?
Yeah, I know. For MAKB members, we did have to move the banquet We moved it from the 19th to the 5th, and then there was a major issue with scheduling on the 5th, and we moved it back to the 19th. So for MAKB members that will be showing up at the banquet, the information's on the Facebook page, obviously. We're waiting on some Bobby roast beef confirmation. You're a big maybe at this point because you got a couple of things going on.
Yep.
So, it might be my melodic voice you hear announcing shit at that day.
Could be.
Yelling it. We might not have PA. I might just yell shit. I yell shit. I can do that. So hopefully, Bobby, you can make it. We understand that, professional fucking job shit comes first. So if you can make it, great. If you can't, we understand, and we'll fucking plan a little better for next year,
Yeah, we'll see how it goes,
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that's all I got.
Yeah, I think that about does it, man. This is a doozy of a show. That interview was a doozy. And I hope you guys enjoy it, Party on. Anyway, guys, have a good one. Get out there, and if you're getting out on the ice, be safe. Pay attention to what ice levels are like before you head out. Ask around. Be safe. Don't put yourself in any kind of risky situations. Trust me, it's not worth it. You hear horror stories all the time. Don't be one of those folks. If you have open water, I am so envious. You bastards. Might have to take a trip down south. In fact, I just booked my hotel in Vegas for that trade show that I'm doing the end of February, and I am going to try to fish.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to try to fish in the desert. Yeah.
In the same vein, you and I talked about it. We have a little bit of a travel remote trip this summer, you and I, and then your trip will end. It's coinciding with a tournament, and then I have to go on a further trip, and I may be stopping in someplace special with some folks that we really like.
Yeah,
and we'll all hear about it. Yeah, I'm not saying anything yet until I get confirmation on all this other shit that's working around, but I got some fun in store for 22. I am really, really excited. Nelson's excited. You're excited.
It's gonna be great.
Howie's excited.
The whole freaking year, I think, is going to be absolutely amazing. And, expect a lot of really good content, too, to be coming from Jigs and Bigs. Lots of stuff that we're working on to try to, really, bring everything to the next level. And like I said, one of my goals, studio, 1,000 question marks. Would love to make it happen if it's at all possible. So we'll find out. It's just one of these things. I got to keep it in the back of my mind. We'll see what happens. But guys, take good care of yourselves. Be safe out there on whatever your adventure, wherever your adventure takes you. Be safe, be prepared, and we will see you next time. Have yourself a great one, everybody. Until next week, another episode of Jigs and Bigs. Tight line.
want to tell Joe Biden right now.
What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner.
Hey, yo.
Bing, bing, bop.